It's a Stone Roadie show. All the skin formation that you need to know. Craig's got it all, so don't you go. It's time for the Stone Roadie show.
The Stoned Roadie Show, podcast 307. Action. Alrighty then, fellow Stoned Roadie Dimension. Looky here, looky here. My name's Craig Reed, a.k.a. the Stoned Roadie. With me, as always, my co-host and the rocket scientist, Griff Martin. And looky here who we got with us today. It's Dave Pops Clemens. He's back with us after we've done 260 podcasts since he's been with us the last time. He was with us on podcast 66 with Mitch Scoopy. But, so here we go again. So let's start. Why don't you just start it off, Griff, with whatever jibber-jabber. Yeah, this jibber-jabber was pre-recorded on Friday, and here it is, Monday, May 19th, 2024, and this is Awake and Bake, The Morning Buzz, episode 176, and here we go. Go ahead, Griff.
Yeah, so Pops, he was on podcast 66, and back by popular demand, and then we've been bugging him, and he's been busy with so many other things, and he's just now able to come on. I remember Pops telling the story last time he came on the podcast where he asked Craig sometime back to come on his podcast, and Craig went, "Nah, I don't feel like doing that," you know. And
Craig fucking shined me. He completely fucking shined me. I go, well, fuck Craig. Why would I come on his fucking show?
Yeah, and then Craig forgot. Craig forgot that he that's he turned you down, and then Pop's like, "Screw Craig, I'm not going on there."
Yeah, well, that's what I kind of would have thought about the second go around. I did such a tremendous fucking job, right? I sell, I make people money, I do all this and for a good cause, and I'm happy to do that. And I thought, well, fuck, if I'm to start a fucking show, I'm gonna hold out. I'm gonna hold out for more nothing.
Well, you had a ton of great stories on the last podcast, and one of them, I didn't hear the end of it. You might have told it, but it was when you guys were out there near where Gary lived, and it was a snowstorm, and Gary had a guitar. I think it was a Les Paul Gold Top delivered, and it was a 50s, and it had a stuck truss rod. And you ended up getting in a fight with somebody in the room, and you kicked him in the head. And Gary was going to pay $2,000 to the winner of that fight, and that guy ended up. Well, who was that anyway?
That was Brian.
Did you get that truss rod unstuck?
Well, what happened was we went up there to rehearse. It was management's idea, I think it was management, to put us in a remote location so we could go. It was Ricky and Huey's first, rehearsal with the band. And for that version of Lynyrd Skynyrd, it's when Gary called it the Guitar Army, the second go round of the Guitar Army. That's what he called it to me. But right when he had hired Ricky and Huey, to the band, he rang me and told me what was going on. And so they put us up there at the Inn of Togarty because which is up looking at the Grand Tetons. It's kind of in the Grand Tetons, and his buddy Brian owned the place. So that's what happened in there. It was storms. It was Super Bowl weekend. It was all fucked up. Me and Big Lou got stuck in Salt Lake, and they had to put us on a private jet, and we nearly crashed. The whole thing was, just getting kind of a disaster. So anyways, when we got up there, one of the days, Gary said, "Hey, Papa, I got this guitar underneath my bed, like the story you hear about all the time." And he says, "I got this guitar under the bed. Would you go down the house and get it? And it needs some help. I want to play it." I went down and opened it up, and it was a fucking 55 Les Paul with the trapezoidal tailpiece. And, you know, as usual, we were partaking. It was just me and Gary, but that was before the fight, actually. That's when all that was happening. And, you know, we had started partying a little bit, and I fucking went to, well, it was all bowed, neck was bowed. And I'm like, oh, fuck, you know, this is like luthier. I'm like a mash guy, you know. When I was on tour, I don't do luthier jobs, but I can get us through the situation, you know. I was more of an electronics guy, but nonetheless, I start to go to do the truss rod, and it was stuck. I couldn't move it. And so I told Gary, look, you know, I got to tell you, this 55 Les Paul, and I'm going to have to wrench on this. And I may or may not get it loose. And there's a very good possibility it could break, you know. And he said, well, fuck, go for it. And I did, and it came loose.
Oh,
and
it came loose? Oh,
you know,
cool.
I was all fucking sweating. And, you know, I mean, when a lot of these jobs that I used to do was what a lot of times the artist was looking over my shoulder. When I worked in LA in the sessions, you know, I worked in the control room with the player on the session and the producer and the engineer. And it was just us 3 or 4 guys. So I would be making repairs on the spot. Like they'd play something and it'd be fucked up. And well, I'd play it, you know, and I go, well, I got to do this. Okay, well, go ahead. Right there. You know, so artists looking over your head.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. Like Zappa when you were putting the strings on, you know.
Fucking Frank's house, you know, he was waiting upstairs and I'm all fucking sweating, you know. I put the strings on, I was laying on the neck. I'm like, fuck, what do I do now? I never saw this happen before, you know. Nonetheless, Gary, yes, I got it playable again.
Did he? Oh, so he played it right after that?
No. When I first came out there, he had Bernice out there, you know, his gold top, his treasured gold top. I think that was the 59. Craig might know.
58, I think it was. Bernice, I think was.
Yeah. And now here's another cool thing that I just kind of figured out. He had the Freebird guitar, which was it was either 61 or 62 when the Les Paul changed to the SG body style. It looked like an SG. So originally I called it an SG, but it was a Les Paul SG body style, solid guitar is what it was. And if you look, it had the arm, and here's another whole story I'll tell some other time, but had a couple of stories around that Freebird guitar, but it had that arm that came up from the side, the whammy bar, and it whammied from the side, not up and down. You know, it whammied from the side. If you go back and look at the 61, 62s, they had a sideways one. Well, so I thought until just a few weeks ago that was the original Freebird guitar. Now, Craig may know better than me, but Chicago Music, I think it's Chicago Music, has, I think that's what they're called, has some of Gary's guitars that they're selling. And they had one they put up and said it was the original Freebird guitar. And I went, no, that ain't the original Freebird guitar. Because I fucking replaced them those vibratos on there. And I know for a fact. And so I went and looked. And I went back online and found some photos of Gary playing that guitar that they say they have. So the one that we had on tour must not have been the original, or maybe it was one of them. Maybe he had several.
So that one that they had was the Freebird guitar?
I don't know now. I'm confused because the one we had was definitely a 61 or 62. I'd have to get the serial number out and look it up. But it had a sideways. That one he had that I found, I think the one in Chicago, I'd have to look this up. Maybe some people could comment on it, but it doesn't have that sideways one. And the only reason I comment about that vibrato is a quick story about one of Gary's guitars that he would, I guess I don't know, it was maybe the first week or second week I was there. And at the end of Freebird, Gary would start holding that bar and shaking the guitar. And he started to ram the guitar into the amps and, you know, like the Who and shit, sort of knocked over some amp. I'm trying to get shit. And then he would take and hold the guitar by that fucking whammy bar and ram the headstock into the deck, into the stage. I'm going, fuck, man. You know, of course, I was like on the same level as them, you know. So I'd been partaking because of Craig. It was all Craig's fault because all you had to do was turn and go, hey, Craig, you know, give me a drink. Give me a whatever. And Craig, this is during the show. Craig, we had a bartender on stage. I tell people they can't even believe it. Now it would be like you'd go to prison for it, you know, a decent dude. And then you just turn and give me. So by the end of the show, you're starting to fucking go, whoo. I better get a grip here, you know. So he's ramming the fucking headstock, and I'm going, no, don't do that. And fucking yelling out, right? And Gary, if you told him no, it was 10 times worse, and he would do it even more. And then he would throw it down and fucking they'd lead the stage.
And it survived? Did it survive?
Well, here's the deal. So that went on only a couple of shows. He started to do that. And about the third time he did it, he was successful. He broke the arm right off of it. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You know, and back then you couldn't go get on the internet and type in 62 Les Paul SG body style vibrato arm. You couldn't do that. You go fucking call LA and get on the thing. And does anybody, you know, I'm trying to find a replacement. Well, I'd found a couple and I bought them. Well, then he thought it was cool to do that. And I told him, you know, now, mind you, I only saw him, you know, they only came right before the show played and left. So I never had much time to talk to him about technical shit. And plus, they didn't really want to know, you know, they just came and played and left. It was my deal to handle the gear, you know. Fuck, we don't give a fuck what's broke. So anyways, I go to Gary and I say, man, these things are like $375, and back then that was a fair bit of money. And apart from the money, I said, you know, I don't know if I can find many more of them. So this guitar will be no good with that whammy. We'll have to put a fixed bridge on the end of it. So he just laughed, right? Didn't say nothing. He went out there into fucking Freebird next night or that night, broke it off, another one. So I had one left. I said to Brian Everson, fuck, I got to do something. And Rod Gibson, the drum roadie at the time, said, hey, man, I know this guy, this Harley guy in Nashville. Maybe he could make something. So I went, that'd be great. So I called this fucking guy and I show him everything and send him the specs. And he made me the arm piece that went down out of cast iron or something, cast steel. He goes, he'll never break this. So
really? Yeah.
I don't tell Gary. I don't tell him, right? And so I put this new fucking arm on there, right? And he goes out the next night. He's got to fucking play Freebird and play Free. I'm going, come on, motherfucker. Till you fucking break that motherfucker. I'm looking at him, right? And he starts ramming it into the deck. Ramming. Me. He looks at me and I just went like.
Well, the other one must have been pot metal. This one must have been just solid iron.
Yeah, they were that cheap shit. Anyways, he threw the fucking thing down. I looked over at Brian because he got mad. Then he started harder. And I said, and Brian goes, he's going to break the goddamn neck off the guitar. I went, well, fuck, so be it.
Yeah, then you won't have to mess with it anymore.
Well, I would have had to done something bad, but you know, it was always something, believe you me. It was always, you know.
So I wonder what happened to that guitar.
Well, you know, I don't know. I don't know what. I'll be honest. Some guy sent me a message from that Chicago guitar place a long time ago, and I don't know who he was or what it was. And he started asking me a bunch of Skynyrd questions about Gary's shit, and I never responded. And you know, and I went, if somebody wants my help or opinion, then have Dale ring me. You know, I don't know who's. I guess it's her. I don't know who's in charge of the estate or what's going on.
Well, he's got.
After he died, I don't want to interrupt you, but after he died, his collection involved 75 guitars and a bunch of amps and stuff, and he didn't have any of that when Rossington Collins, when he left Rossington Collins, when he went to Wyoming, he must have established quite a amp and guitar collection, because when he left Jacksonville for Wyoming, I doubt he had 10 guitars. But
well, I went to the locker in Jacksonville. There wasn't that much shit in there that I knew. I didn't really have time to root through it, you know. He had some kind of used storage place. I don't know what he had at the house. I didn't, you know, I was only there the one time to get that Les Paul. So I don't know, and I never saw any. I knew what was in the locker in Nashville when we moved all the gear to Nashville. At sound check, I had a list of all the stuff, a manifest, but it didn't have that. You know, it was all the touring shit. There was some old Rossington Collins shit in there, but it was cases mainly, cases you couldn't even use.
Yeah, there's some people they're working on trying to identify some of his guitars and things, and they were calling and asking Craig to help out a little bit. He did.
Yeah, I only could, you know, when I started, Joe Barnes was a guitar roadie, and then it was Chuck Flowers, and then after Chuck Flowers, it was me, but that was just right after Steve started, and then, you know, I did the whole Survivor tour, but, you know, I wasn't the guitar roadie for that long, maybe a year, you know, so.
Right. Well, there wasn't that many guys, you know. Did you say Joe? It's Joe Barnes, right?
Joe Barnes, and then Chuck Flowers, and then me. That was it.
I thought Joe was the amp guy. I didn't even know.
Well, he was. Joe was everything. It was Joe and Kevin, and then when I was hired, I became the drum roadie, and then Joe was like the stage manager, and Kevin was like the production manager, and he did the keyboards, and then Joe did the electronics and the guitars, and then I just did drums and helped with the back line.
Right.
Until Ronnie threw him off the plane, literally. Hey, Pops, I got to ask you a question, man. Did you hear about Craig? When they went up to near his house, Skynyrd, to play a concert. It was just about a year ago, I think it was, and Craig went to the backstage gate, and they wouldn't let him in.
Yeah, I did. I saw the video holding these fucking laminate up, and then I saw Johnny's response to the whole thing.
Yeah, did you see that? Yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, you know, with this new day and age now, well, you know, the people at the back gates and all that, they just doing their job. They're not gonna let nobody in. They don't give a shit. But
I was back there. I was signing autographs for them guys. I told them who I was. They were, no shit. Oh, these guys are gonna be so happy to see you. Blah blah blah. And the guy came back. He goes, they don't want you back here.
See there's where I draw the line. That's where I agree with you. If those guys got a message down there, and somebody went, Craig Reed's at the gate. Well, fuck. If I'd have been on the tour, I'd have came and got you.
Yeah,
right. That's what.
Well, there was somebody at the production office came out there. I know it was a woman. She came out there and looked at me, in a golf cart, and she came out there and looked at me, and then went back. And about 5 minutes later, they said they don't want you back here.
Do you think the guys in the band knew about it?
No, they weren't there. This was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah,
I didn't really care to see them anyways. I just went to see Brian and Boxcar and some of the road, Dave Baker and some of the road guys. Yeah,
Boxcar's still there. That's amazing. He gets to play harmonica in the show.
Oh, still, yeah.
Great.
He's still.
I remember when he first showed up to become the keyboard roadie. I was there, and he fucking came in. He had that train hat on, and he started playing that harmonica. And he was brand new there. I didn't know him,
Yeah.
And I fucking went over there. I gave him the name Boxcar.
Oh, you're the guy that named
I
him?
went, look, we got goddamn Boxcar Willie out here doing the keyboards.
Yeah, he was wearing that engineer hat.
Yeah. And he was so shy and such.
Yeah, he was.
He would just take it and grin, and he didn't, nothing really bothered him. He just stayed to himself, and he didn't say nothing, you know. And unlike Craig and me, we'd be over fucking running the roost, you know.
But they eventually they said, "Hey, why don't you play the harmonica?" And they I guess they liked it.
Well, Ricky's song, you know.
Oh,
Craig,
okay.
He started playing harmonica for Montgomery Gentry, and when Montgomery Gentry opened up for us, he got Boxcar got there to play for Montgomery Gentry. Yeah, every time yeah, that was pretty cool.
Now, Pops, you said that your first line of coke you did with Chubby Checker. Isn't that the first time you did coke?
Well, not really, but I had done some, you know.
Who'd have thought Chubby Checker did coke? You know what I mean?
Well, look, I got to tell you, you know, at 17, I guess I just turned 17. You know, I had dropped out of high school already at, I don't know, 16 or whatever. And, you know, I'd been doing band gigs with my buddies, you know, from 12 years old already. And we had music family, you know, my brother played drums and all that for acts. And anyways, in the 50s, he was a 50s guy. And so I was mowing grass in an apartment complex. I was working as a maintenance guy. I'd just come back to St. Louis. And this guy came out and said, hey, I heard you work for a band. He goes, yeah. He goes, you want to do some work for me? I work with some bands. And I go, yeah. So I work for Contemporary Productions. Well, that was the big production, one of the big promoters in the Midwest. I mean, they were big. They were a big deal.
Contemporary. I got some backstage passes from them. Yeah.
John Schmiemeyer. It was Schmie. And so he fucking said, you want to come to work? So I'm like, I was like, shit my pants, you know? And so I started working for them and backstage, you know, and I was a runner and I did help with catering, you know, did all that kind of shit. But I was a runner because I could help people. I knew where to go get electronics parts because I was building sound system shit for one of the companies in St. Louis. And so anyways, being there is where cocaine was the deal. You know, I mean, all the Queen, all them big bands were coming through, Billy Squire, all of them, the Grateful Dead. I mean, I was 17. I was a kid, you know?
Right, yeah.
And so that's where it kind of started, but not really, you know, I didn't really even know what it was, really, for a few years. And then when I started to do monitors, maybe around 78, 79, somewhere in there, and I started to do these one-offs with big bands, you know. If you were good, they'd bring you back and hang out, and that's kind of Chubby Checker come back. You know, he's fucking racking them out, man.
Really?
And I was like, fucking, you know, well, it was, to be quite honest, it was beginning of my divorce. That's where it led to, you know, that I used to do, there used to be a Six Flags over Mid-America, and I was working for the sound company in town as well as Contemporary, and I would start to go out, well, I might have left Contemporary already at that point, but I was starting to do all the shows out there, you know, and I would pull up in the truck and just fall out of the truck. I'd been up for days, you know, doing shows, and oh my God. And so I was bringing road crew guys home to the house, and finally my wife just went, fuck this. And she left.
Oh, yeah.
You know, well, yeah, it was not only road crew guys from the bands, it was fucking, you know, everything, the women. That was just, I'd roll at about 3 a.m. with fucking 20 people, you know.
Well, that's why Craig's been married 5 times, because he never got that.
No, that's
he was like, what's the problem?
I'm no date the beach to live with, I have to admit. But hey, Chubby Checker just got nominated to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here. Last year or this year? I didn't see if he got in or.
There's another topic for you know, conversation. It is the fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, Chubby Checker should have been in there in the first week.
Number one, yeah.
You know, what the fuck is that? I
mean, bad company, you know.
They're racist.
I mean, all due respect to Snoop Dogg, but you know what the fuck?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm getting at here.
But well, I mentioned the cocaine thing because you said you had a story you could tell that I guess that was okay to tell. That no,
I'll tell
everybody.
one that doesn't involve any of us.
Yeah.
Well, I never did cocaine with Griff, and you're a rocket scientist and all, so I don't know about all that. But it would have been cool to do it with you. Fucking head down to the NASA.
Like I said, man, I was never into that because that's to me. I did it some, and I got constipated, man, and I probably would have been a cokehead had it not happened.
Well, let me tell you, I tell, when we were in Los Angeles and when I was with Skynyrd and they rang and Gary was in rehab and Billy and all that, and they rang and said, "Hey, Papa, if you want to come back to work for us, we'd like to have you back. You can't do no more cocaine or any of that." And I was like, "Well, okay," because my wife, who I'd asked to marry me, had said, "Fuck you," because you're out of control. I mean, he flew from Australia to come hang out with me in America. And I missed it. I missed the airport, right? Because I'd been up all fucking night. And she started to ring the fucking doorbell. I'm in with my underwear with a big, gaggers out there. And she goes, where have you been? I'm like, what do you mean? Anyway, she fucking walked in the door and we started racking them out. Well, it became nighttime and I got out the pipe. I'd been starting to smoke it. Some gal got me into that there. And she goes, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Well, I'm going to rock some of this up and we'll have a couple hits. This is a new thing." And she's like, "What?" I said, "No, you never saw Richard Pryor?" You know what I mean? This is what we do. Well, so I did that. And she was like, like getting all fidgety and stuff. And I think I had a couple pipes. And that shit was like, with me anyways, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like instantly I was like some other guy. That's why I used to contribute a lot of shit you see these stories about celebrities. Oh, he did this and he did that. And I went, he must have been under the influence, right? Because that shit would make you do stuff that you would not normally do as a real person.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so anyways, my time in LA before my wife had gotten there involved, freelancers. I mean, there was no girlfriends. Hey, you come to my house and we got that shit out, there was going to be some activity. Right. So my wife got there and I thought that she would just like anybody else. Right. I didn't think she was going to be my wife. I just thought she's coming to fucking.
Had she been around it at all?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She was around AC/DC when they were 15 years old.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. She's from Australia, Melbourne, where AC/DC was. And she came into the music business and she's done all that shit. As a matter of fact, when I started to name people I knew, she would go, "How's George?" and shit. I'm like, fucking, how many people have my wife fucked? I don't even, she's been around this shit her whole fucking life,
Wow.
All them In Excess and all them guys she knew, all the big Little River Band.
What did she do in the music business?
Well, she was around, she was married to crew guys, Her first guy was a lighting guy. And he did big bands, and the next guy, one of them was a sound guy, and so she knew. And then she started working, and tour manager locally, and just stuff gigs. She did gigs as a roadie and all that stuff. So she knew her way around drugs. Don't get me wrong, she was a pro at the shit. But when she got to L.A., L.A. ain't Melbourne, I mean, I was down at the fucking Forum Club. I tell people I used to go to Forum Club to see hockey games. I'd come up, we used to call it Lot 1 parking passes. A buddy of mine used to get tickets to the games. We'd come into Lot 1 into Valet Park, and there was a little door, and you come into the Forum, and the Forum Club was like 3 steps. You go up a few steps, and then in the door to the right. And that place, the first time I went there, it was unbelievable. And I say I used to go to Forum Club, do cocaine with Jack Nicholson in the fucking bathroom. You'd go in there, there'd be 50 people in a 2-stall bathroom.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Doctors, lawyers, fucking celebrities, fucking everything. They were all in there. And you'd go in there, and it would be, 6:30, and all of a sudden the guy would yell, "Ding, ding, 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 last call." What? Fucking, you'd missed the whole fucking game, everything, right? You'd miss it all. You'd been in the fucking bathroom, and then you'd go, everybody start going, where are we going? Whose house are we going to? A lot of times, like, come on to my house, and people pile in your house. That's how LA used to work, because everything used to shut at 1:30. I go, what the fuck is this? You know, people were just going out at midnight. And so what would happen is from 1:30 to 5:30, Kinnison used to write bits about getting in Mr. Corvette at 7 a.m. because everyone at 7 a.m. would go, it's okay to go home now because all the people are out. You know, you didn't want to go home at 4:30.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, geez, the cops see me fucking drive. Because a lot of people lived in the valley and you had to drive over the canyon, Laurel Canyon and stuff. And it was kind of hairy, you know, and you'd be all high and fucked up, you know. I remember going into Mondrian and going in there, and the ballet guy'd look at you at midnight, and at 7 a.m. you come out and look like Kermit the Frog, you know. And it was insane, but that's what it was, you know.
So you said Jack Nicholson was in the back. What, did you just run into him in there, or what?
They were for him, man. Nicholson was an honorary member of the fucking Lakers, you know.
So it was just you and him in there, or what?
Fuck no, the whole place would be jammed, right? I mean, you'd walk in the Forum Club, and then everyone, like almost like a Lynyrd Skynyrd rehearsal in the old when I first came, everyone would be in the bathroom. I don't know why. Everyone would go in the bath. You know, why didn't you just sit out in the fucking thing and do it?
They were hiding. That's why they were hiding.
It was crazy, man. It was fucking. I tell people this, and they go, "Fuck you, you fucking tell." It's like,
yeah.
You know?
You remember you said that when the first day that you came to work for Skynyrd, they gave you like 30 minutes. They were like, you know, you said, well, you're not done yet. Oh yeah, we're done. You'll be all right. You'll be all right.
Well, that almost led to the end of my career. You know, honestly. Well, you know, the whole fucking deal was crazy. You know, I got to the hotel, and I mean, within 20 minutes, I was in the production manager's fucking room geeking my mind out, and stayed up all fucking night.
Well,
went straight to work, you know, and got to work and went, I can't even fucking believe I'm doing this. You know, I'm going to work for the
You're
biggest.
Supposed to be work. They expect you to get the job done, but how the hell could you, right?
Well, that leads to another story, you know, but, you know, I got there and I was overwhelmed. You know, I had 24 guitars, which some guys nowadays will go, fuck, that ain't much. But it is when it's Lynyrd Skynyrd and it's 3 different guys and a bass player, right? That was a lot, you know, and I got there and I was fucked up. And, you know, when Brian came out at like 3 o'clock, I was struggling, you know, I'm going, I've got to keep going and getting another gram because I got to keep fucking working. I can't fucking lay down and go to sleep, you know? Fuck, this is terrible. A band's going to be here at 4 o'clock. Brian came out at 3 o'clock and went, we're done. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and you said, man, I haven't even figured out that wire on Gary's Freebird guitar.
Oh, that was, I should probably, I didn't tell the Freebird story yet, have I? I don't think so.
No, I don't think you did.
Oh, boy. I might as well tell it to the public.
Yeah, you might as well.
Most people don't even fucking know it happened, but maybe a lot of the people in the music business knew it happened. But so that first, so to back up, I get a call, you know, to go do this fucking gig, and I get there, and it's not only the pressure of Lynyrd Skynyrd, but there was only that I really knew of 2 guys before me. Now Craig said there was 2 before him, and Joe I thought was the amp guy. I didn't know about the guy after Joe. I thought Craig was the next guy. So
it was Chuck Flowers after that. Chuck's the one that killed himself with the rifle, a 30-30 rifle that Ronnie gave him.
Oh my God. That's terrible. Well, anyways, so I'm going to a job who has one of the original guys is there. He's going to be there watching me. And the guy who I took his place was there from, you know, Rosin and Collins, right? Mikey Sparks started with Rosin and Collins.
Yeah, we were both guitar techs. Yeah. Mikey Sparks was a guitar tech.
He got fired. He's one of the guys that got fired, wasn't he?
from the tribute tour. I don't think he got fired. I don't know
No,
why
I
Mike
think he just
Clark.
No.
quit.
Oh,
He
okay.
left for whatever reason, and abruptly. And so I had to come in cold turkey, which I used to do on a lot of the tours because that's calls I used to get.
Mike went to work for Confederate Railroad. I don't know if that was the reason.
I don't know the reason. I only
And
met
then
him
he
one
worked
time.
at Soundstage in Nashville for a long time.
That's where I met him after all the years. He was a real nice guy and all that. Anyway, so I get there and I'm like, fuck, I not only got this huge job, but I got one of the original guys looking over my fucking shoulder. And I'm like, but I can't ask him, hey, how do you do this or how do you do that? So anyways, the first day it gets called off. I go, well, I got one more chance. Well, fuck, I think then there was even more than 24 guitars because we started the set with an acoustic set. So the band came and they've all sat down. I fucking walk out there and fucking the only thing Gary says to me is, you from England? Because I had like an accent, and it wasn't Southern. And he was like, you from England? That's all he says to me. That's
Was
all
it from being in Australia or something?
Well, I wasn't in Australia at that point, but I was doing a lot. I was working with Ronnie Dio a lot, and a lot of the guys were British and Scottish, and we did a lot of UK stuff, and so I kind of started kind of talking that way for a bit.
Had a little bit of a twang from it, huh?
Well, it wasn't a twang so much as it was was a British. I used to say a lot of things.
You just didn't sound like a hick.
Exactly.
Like
I didn't sound like the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, this ain't good already. Right. So no one's saying nothing. Right. And they do the 3 songs and they fucking get up and, Billy used to be hilarious. He'd go to rehearsal and he'd sit down and he'd start playing Sweet Home Alabama and he'd stop about 10 bars in and go, fuck this shit. I ain't playing this goddamn song. We don't know this shit by now. But fuck you motherfuckers. And off he'd go, right? Anyways, and I only done a few in the beginning. I didn't do any rehearsals until after the first leg. But anyways, so they got up and left the band. And I'm standing there going, we've not even fucking ran the show. Normally that's how you figure shit out. You run the show a bunch of times. Production rehearsal. I thought I was cool. Brian comes on and he goes, we're done. I'm like, we're done? We haven't ran the fucking show, man. I got all these fucking guitars. I got open tuning, slides. The Freebird guitar was a fucking nightmare already. I'm like, I don't even fucking know. Well, the only guy that was showing me was Brian Evers, and he wasn't Guitar Roadie.
What were they open tuning?
Okay, well, Gary had a couple open tuning slide guitars. You got that right, was open tuning. I forget what it was. Ed had some open D, drop D.
Oh, no shit. I never knew that. Yeah.
Mike Estes was straight up that I remember pretty much at that point. But anyways, so I got all these guitars. I've been up for fucking 3 days. And I'm like, well, might as well go to the hotel, go to the bar. So we go to fucking bar, and that's where you got your production information. You didn't get notes under the door or shit. You went to the bar. That's where you got your production sheet. So anyways, I fucking go there and we go the next day. It's show day. Fucking show. I still haven't talked to the band guys. Nothing. And we're starting a show with an acoustic set with all these acoustic guitars.
So they expect you to be the man now, huh?
I'm the man. I guess they thought I was the man. I guess Brian or somebody went to him and said, this guy's the dude. He can fucking drink. He can do drugs. He can fucking fight. And he can tune the guitars during the show.
That's what I heard. That's why I didn't bug you. I just said, well, this guy's the shit, So I'll
that's right. He works for Frank Zappa. That's a
Brian. Yeah, hell yeah. This guy's the shit. I'm not. I always said, man, I ain't gonna mess with him.
Come on. So
Pop said I thought I was looking over him. I was just leaving him alone.
Anyways, we fucking start the show and shit. I'm not ready for what was happening because Ed was easy because he only set his guitars out there, and Mike was the same because they knew I had Gary's. Gary didn't touch nothing. I did Gary's shit. Mike and Ed both had tuners up on the amps, and then there was Leon. and Leon in itself could have took 3 people. I mean, Leon was.
Yeah. You mentioned that on the last day. He was like, yeah.
It was easy, but yet he was very difficult. Anyways,
You had to take care of his hats too, didn't you?
that was the fucking thing. Please pass, frog hat.
Hat change. Every song was a different hat.
Out. He would be yelling shit out. I was trying to do other tune next, and I'm trying to watch all the other fucking guys, and I'm hearing, please hat. I'm like, what the fuck? First show, right? Now I'm up for 4 days, and I'm yelling to Craig, give me a bump, you know. I need a drink, I need another drink. You know, I'm trying to maintain. I'm about to lose my mind, you know, and I'm going, I gotta be cool because any minute someone's gonna swing at me, I'm about to fucking fight. You know, I gotta keep this together. And so, and you know, Leon's yelling shit, you know, every time he's coming off, what's next? I'm like, fuck, I don't know. Look at the set list. You know, and this was an ongoing thing. Every time I get to he'd go, what's next? And I'd go, what's your name? He'd go, Leon. Fucking, it was mayhem. It was fucking mayhem, right? And I'm going, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fucking do this. And about that time, Gary comes over, he's headed over, you know, and I'm going, wow, what's he doing? He's coming towards me, and I get a tap on my shoulder, and it's Craig, and he's got this it looked like an altar, a miniature altar, and it had about an 8-ball, maybe a quarter ounce, I don't know, big, huge fucking pile of cocaine on it, right? And he on his shoulder, I'm like, Gary's coming, and Leon's yelling, I need the frog hat. And Craig calmly looks at me and says, whatever you do, don't knock this over. He moves the shit away on my work box, and he sets that platter in the fucking middle. And Gary's coming. I go, oh, I know what this is.
Oh, okay.
This is going to be fucking, wow. I'm going, this is getting more intense as it's going. Now we're about quarters way through the show, and I'm surviving, right? I'm surviving. And I'm going, hey, this is tense still. Gary comes over, and he bends down. He's got the hat, and he looks like the devil, right? And he comes and he does as much as he can. Wow. And he comes up and he looks me right in the face, and he throws the fucking thing down. He's still staring me right in the face. And he's done like half that pile. And he gets a hold of his guitar and goes, whoa. Walks out. Give me 3 steps, and he fucking goes out. And Craig looks at me and he goes, just shakes his head, picks the thing up, and leaves.
Had you ever had a discussion with Gary? Like,
no, nothing.
You never even had a conversation.
None of them. The only thing that King said to me was he handed me a fucking mandolin and said, I'm going to play this. Sharon's going to bring this in. She's going to hand it to you. I'm going to play it. You're going to come get it, hand it back to her, and she's going to put it on a bus. Don't ever touch it. I was like, that's all he said to me. That's the only any of them said to me. I knew nothing.
And they expected you to have all their shit tuned up, ready to go.
I guess they figured they was paying me. Or
was Craig helping you out at all, or was he?
No, he was just giving me drinks and fucking cocaine and joints, and it was insane. Anyways,
how did you get in? I mean, I hate to interrupt you, but how did you get that shit done? No, I don't understand how you made it work.
Cocaine.
I only ever had 10 guitars, and they were all just straight tuning.
Well, mind you, I was the amp tech too, so I was tubing and biasing. Well,
no wonder you didn't want anybody around you. That was your area, and you were like, keep it up. But go ahead, finish the story.
Anyways, we get to fucking Sweet Home Alabama, and we fucking do that. And Craig throws the fucking we had it worked out where Johnny threw Craig the flag. Craig went to stage right. And then something happened to where Gary threw Craig the slide, and then Craig threw the slide to me all the way across stage. I think that's how.
Did you catch it?
Well, we would try our best. Sometimes I'd miss him, or he always caught the flag. But anyways, so all that happens, and the band comes off, and they're all around me. Now I'm like the fucking American hero, right? So the whole band's around me going, fucking Johnny's going, oh, fucking Pops is bad, fucking bad. You know, big fucking lines. Come on, Pops. And I'm fucking doing lines. I'm fucking drinking. I'm going, yeah, I'm fucking bad to the fucking bone. I put the Freebird guitar on Gary and he's fucking looking at me. And he, you know, he's all fucking, yeah, man, I got the baddest guitar tech in the world. Until he walked out to draw that fucking slide on Freebird.
Oh, yeah?
It was wrong.
Oh, hell.
Brian told me what to do, and I had a disagreement with him about something. Not a disagreement, but I said, "Oh, I don't need to listen to it. I've got my Con strobe tuner. You know, that's the industry standard. I've got this. I know what I'm doing." He goes, "Okay." I tuned it wrong. Not wrong. It was like down and out whole octave.
Oh, hell.
I have to explain how you tune the Freebird guitar. It's like nothing you've ever seen, right? Any tuning, any way of doing anything with a guitar was totally different. And so they walk out there and they go to fucking, he goes to play that slide part and it was terribly fucking wrong. And the whole band just turned and looked at me.
Oh, shit.
20,000 fucking people. And I didn't know what to fucking
What did it sound like, though?
It was like a complete fucking and utter
Really? Was it like
the
it was
worst
that?
train wreck you could ever hear?
And Gary
They
just
were
kept
all
playing?
looking at me, and I'm going. All I could do was put my head and put my chest out and walk to the edge of the stage and look at him and go, "What do you want me to do?" Because there was no spare, you know. And even if there was, it would have been tuned wrong. So I grab. I don't know what to fucking do. I've never been in this situation, right? And so I grab Paul and I go out there and I pull his hat off and he's looking at me and I fucking grab that Freebird guitar. I put the other one on. I hand him the fucking, and he looks at me and goes, "What do you want me to do with that?" Says, "Fuck, I don't know. Make something fucking up." And I turned and left the stage. I mean, it was like the worst buzzkill that you could ever experience. And then in my mind, as I'm walking off the stage, I'm thinking, well, it was a fun 4 days.
Right.
And I've had a great career till now, but it's over now. And so they left, then no one said nothing. And I had to painfully do the loadout. And there was a lighting director, Bob Looney, who was the only guy that was really making fun of me. And, saying shit like, "Oh, I guess he'll be on the Greyhound tonight," and, shit like that. And I wanted to punch him, but he was right, and I fucked up. Now, mind you, in my defense, I never had anyone, I never had Gary or anyone. I mean, Brian showed me and he was really right. But no, we had never rehearsed it, nothing. And I'd been doing cocaine and drinking for 4 fucking days, right? And so I grinned and bear it. And I, got on a bus and fucking laid in my bunk and finally fell asleep. We were playing the Greek Theater in Los Angeles the next day, and it was going to be a big celebrity fucking deal. My second show, big celebrity. So I wake up, we get to the gig, and I come in to see where my replacement is, right? I'm thinking there's going to be a guy here and I'm going to be gone. No one said nothing to me, And I come in and Brian's at the trucks and they're tipping off the gear. And I'm like, well, I guess this is it. Where's my new guy? And he goes, "What are you talking about?" So, well, fuck, I did one of the worst things ever in the music business that anyone could ever do. I tuned the Redneck Anthem wrong. I did the worst thing you could possibly do. I fucking looked at him and I said, "I'll be right back." I'd walked in the production office and Jay turned around, put her hand out like this with a little white package, said, "Here you go." Well, okay. I took the bindle out, dumped out some, did a big fucking line, went back there and started unloading the fucking gear.
So nobody ever said anything to you about it?
Well, the night before we left the gig, Brian came and got me, said, Gary wants to see you on the bus. I thought that was going to be the time that I was going to either get beat up, because it kind of what that group was. You'd have to really fuck up pretty bad, to be flown home. It'd be more of a management decision, probably. The band would have just beat you up and you went back in,
Oh, they actually would physically beat you up.
Well, I say that, as a scenario, but that could have very well happened, the way it was. It was that kind of camp where, fuck it, you didn't get a memo. Oh, you're fired. Oh, you didn't meet our criteria. You got, what the fuck, beat the fuck out of you. You go back and do your job right next time, right? That's kind of what it was. Anyways, so I go on a bus. I didn't know what, I fucking opened a bus door. He's got the SG, another kind of guitar. Not that one we used, but a different one. And he's sitting there like a fucking, I said, I just don't know what to say.
Had you still not had a decent conversation with him yet? I mean,
no, I hadn't talked to anyone.
You still hadn't talked to anyone.
I've done the show. I mean, apart from Johnny going, fucking Pop's a badass, and me blowing that. They're patting me on the back and fucking.
So you never even had a conversation with Gary?
No, nothing. We never ran a song, maybe 2 songs, an acoustic thing, and then they left, And then so I got on the bus. I said, I just don't know what to say, man. And he said, how do you think I felt? I had 20,000 people looking at me. And then I felt even worse. And I just looked at him and went, must have really sucked. So I didn't know what to say. And I wasn't making up excuses or fucking, because I was supposed to be bad to the bone, That's why I was there. And he said, okay, let me show you. And he explained the whole thing, how it started. Screwdriver, he used to put a screwdriver on it, raise strings, play the thing, Showed me how to do it. He said, tomorrow night, I hope you get it right. Because there's no sound check. They didn't come to sound check. Crew band played the sound check. And so when they showed up, it had to be right. Everything, So anyways, it's the next night. And we do the whole fucking show, and it's all good again. And, Brett Michaels came out and saying with celebrities there. Fuck, it's L.A. It's Skynyrd, Greek theater, outdoor show. Comes to Freebird. Gary comes over just by himself to me, right? Just to me. And he's got his solo cup. I got mine. Do a tip like this. We both do a shot. Sets it down. I put the guitar on him. Put his hat on him. He looks at me, goes, you afraid? And I went, nope. And he goes, me neither. And he walked out there and he played it, right? So, and the fucking song, and everybody's like, fucking Pops, he did it.
Yeah.
He got it right.
He was having fun with you, is what he was doing.
Gary comes off, and I go, like with him when I did guitar changes, he wore a hat, so he would take his hat off, put it on my head, and then I would take that guitar off, put the other one on him, and put his hat back on him. So he comes off, I take the fucking hat off, take the guitar, put his hat back on. He's got his fucking drink, and he looks at me and goes, you're a fucking liar. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, you were fucking scared. I know it, because I was fucking really scared. That was Rossington.
Yeah.
And that began the whole thing. So about a week went by, and I was, I don't think I'd slept 6 hours in a fucking week and a half or so. And I came in to the gig one morning. I just go, look, I went to production. I said, I'm going to have to go home. They go, what? Jay and Jay was only in there because Hobson, the production manager, would sleep till 3 o'clock. It was the most bizarre, He'd stay up all night, and Jay would kind of run everything, and Brian Evers was the guy. And so I went, yeah, man, this is too much. I go, I've already fucked up royally, and it's all over the industry, I'm sure. And I don't want to ruin my career by fucking up because it's too much. It's too much for one guy, you know? And I went, okay, we're sorry you feel that way. Let's see if we can work out. And I went, okay. Went out and started fucking working. Ed King came on the fucking stage. It's, I don't know, 9 in the morning. I'm like, oh no, now what? He goes, hey, Pops, come here. I want to talk to you in the production office. I'm like, oh no, I've done something here now. Because Ed was,
Had you had a conversation with him
no,
yet at all? No, still nothing, huh?
no.
That's crazy, man.
And he goes, I hear you having a hard time. And I said, well, Ed, it's a lot, man. It's hard. It's a lot. And he goes, oh, I know that. He goes, hey, Jay. Jay walks, hands him a baggie, right? Fucking Ed dumps a bag of blowout on the fucking table. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, right? And he starts racking them out, big TPRs. Go ahead. Okay, I'm gonna fucking do one. He does one. He goes, let's do another one. So I do fucking, we did like, I don't know, 2 or 3 grams in, a couple of minutes. If I can just goes, you okay now? I went, yeah. He goes, I'll be all right. And he goes, I'll see to it you get the second gram of the day if you'll stay. I was like, what? So
Why do you think he did that? He saw promise in you.
Ed liked me at first. I'll tell this whole part of this. At first, the first rehearsal I did, we were at that. I asked Craig about this facility. It was a little, I didn't know where it was. Somewhere in Jacksonville. He said it was Al Collins' studio or garage or something.
Oh yeah, we thought you were talking about the Hell House last time, but Craig said it was. I think it was a downtown studio or something, wasn't it, Craig?
No, it's at Al Collins' house. I thought. Didn't he have something out at Al's house? It was
Alan Collins's house had the studio in the back. Yeah.
I think that's where it was. It had the hot
Garage,
rod
yeah.
in it. Hot rod was in there.
Yeah. It was Alan Collins' house. Yeah.
So, anyways, it was a little bitty. I set up all the gear, and they started to trickle in, and Ed came in, and I don't know, he was dicking around with his guitar, and I looked over, and there was a 45. I think it was a 45, and a bag of blow, like a big bag, like an ounce, fucking full of. And it was sitting on top of the wires. He goes, hey, Pops, you come here and check this out or whatever. And I'm like, holy fuck, this is insane. I said, look, I don't mind, with the cocaine being up there. I had to move some. I said, but that gun, that scares me. And so he put the gun away, and then as rehearsal went on, he started to come over and hang out with me. And, because they didn't rehearse long, started doing lines, and me and Ed were like in my area and just doing coke and talking and stuff. And everything was all cool. And we were there to play that. I don't know if Craig remembers it. You might even know, Ed. It was the Jacksonville. It was a big Freebird Festival, it was called, I think, or something. It was at the Air Force Base in Jacksonville. It was
Okay.
big, huge outdoor festival. And it was for something, benefit, or I don't know what the fuck it was for. I don't remember. Anyways, we went to do the gig, and Ed showed up about 6 o'clock, and he had this old Pensa guitar. He goes, I want to play this in the show, Pops. And I go, it's 6 o'clock, Ed. So I got a lot, I got a lot of guitars, and it was rusted. It had rust on the fucking whammy bar. It was in bad shape. I go, Ed, this needs he goes, you'll make it happen. And he just left. Well, I fucking did my best. It needed a lot of attention. And so I did my best. And so I forget what song it was, but I fucking looked up, and Ed was like, doing this shit to me and pointing at the fucking guitar during the show.
Oh, hell.
And I looked down and looked up, and he fucking sailed it at me, like all the way across the stage.
No shit.
Yeah. And it came, and I fucking stomped my foot down on it and stopped it and looked up at him, and did one of these back. And so that kind of became the end of me and Ed. You know, he was okay after that. He never apologized for it, but it became, we had a few, run-ins. It started with tunings, and he had some Paul Reed Smith guitars when they were first coming out, and they had weird tuners on them. I forget what those tuners are called. There were some kind of locking mechanisms, when he would whammy, it was hanging up, and it wasn't hanging up because of the tuner. It was hanging up in the nut, as it always does generally. And I was trying to explain that to him, and he would have nothing to do with it. Somebody telling him about his guitars, how they should play. And we had a big blow up over that. And as a matter of fact, I went out to the bus with one of them, trying to fucking knocking on his bus, going, fucking come out here. Anyways, that was a whole ordeal. And the next day, he flew some guy in from Texas to be his tech only.
Oh, wow.
Gary made him pay for it out of his pocket, I believe. But by that point, I was already Gary's guy. I was in, and with Dale loved me. So, if I was making her man happy and keeping that under control, she was totally cool. So I was in, and it didn't matter what Ed fucking thought. And it was kind of sad. And that's where that whole thing comes back. And I won't get into all that, about Gary and Ed and all of that stuff. And you can watch some of the old documentaries. There's some on there where Gary says it firsthand, but he stood behind me, and then it just made our bond stronger. And it was kind of sad, but then we got this dude. I don't even know his name. I never did. He would stand at the load-in dock wearing Ed's guitars, playing Sweet Home Alabama to the stagehands. Like, I'm Ed King's guitar tech and shit. Oh my God. It was like,
that was the guy he flew in.
yeah.
So they would just like have a guitar laying around the house, and they'd say, I think I'm going to play this at the gig tonight. And they would hand it to you and go, here, get this tuned up for me.
No, that really never happened. It was only that one time. I don't know what it was. I think maybe Ed was still living in Jacksonville then. I don't know.
He might have been testing you, man, just to
Maybe.
fuck with you or something,
I don't know. He liked me. He stood up for me after the whole Freebird thing, and he kept me in there so I wouldn't leave. And
so, did you guys like have some friction between you from then on, or?
Oh yeah. There was. He wouldn't even look at me, and I wouldn't look at him. And when the band would come on stage, and I was putting the guitar on Gary, I'd be out in the middle of the stage putting the guitar on Gary, and Ed would walk by to like swing his headstock at him and go, fuck that fucker. And, and like Gary was all into it, because I was his guy.
Right. Yeah.
He enjoyed that. He enjoyed it now. I'm his guy.
That might have kept you around longer, that you had a little.
I'm certainly it did.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a lot of people that I've heard stories like that before, that didn't get along with Ed. I guess if you pissed him off, and then.
Well, I got along with him. See, that's the problem. I didn't personally, I'm there to be a guitar tech and help people, and I'm not 100% right all the time, but there is shit I do know, right? That if you try to tell me that it's me and not the instrument or something else causing a problem, then I'm going to stand up for myself. Well, I can prove it.
Before the Freebird thing happened, you said that they were going, man, yeah, Pops is the man. Pops is the man. What was it that you were doing that was so good that they liked you until you
fucking tuned all the guitars and made everything play?
Yeah, so
I
everything
just got them through a show,
Yeah, how the hell did you do that, man? Just luck?
Oh, it wasn't luck. I guarantee you.
Well, I mean,
I had to know what I was doing a little bit.
That's.
I remember once Craig came over and said, this is like, he only said two things to me, I think, about guitars the whole fucking time I was there. He came over once in the beginning and goes, how many wraps do you put on that thing? I put 3 wraps and this or that. And I just looked at him and I fucking said, well, this is what I do, man. You can hear it. That was it. It was being real friendly. Me and Craig were, we were the dudes. I remember like the first week, might have been the 5th show or something. Craig came out to me right before they were going to come on. And he said, hey, Gary's asked me for us to do something. And I went, what's that? He goes, He wants me and you to have a red Solo cup with a shot of vodka in it, and it was like a half a cup, really, or a quarter cup, maybe quarter cup of vodka, because we weren't allowed to drink brown liquor. You could only have white liquor.
Which
Remember
is
all of that?
ridiculous.
I guess before I got there, the tour before, or 2 tours or something, Johnny drank Jack Daniels and fell off the balcony in a hotel and broke his back or something. Remember
Yeah.
that, Craig?
Oh, damn.
Yeah, they cut off the brown liquor, yeah.
Oh, you can have his white liquor.
Which is ridiculous.
Well, hey, whatever. It was fine with me because I had it all. I had a guy racking me out lines and doing me bumps and making me drinks and rolling joints for me. I can't even explain it. I can't even fucking tell you. And I'm working for Skynyrd, you know. Like, what do? I work for Lynyrd Skynyrd. Why? You want to fucking say something about it? You know what I mean? It was badass, you know.
Well, if you didn't do those things, then you would have been out, man. You had to be doing blow and drinking yeah, you had to, carouse.
The only guy that wasn't, to my knowledge, was Brian Evers. He was the only straight guy on the fuck. And then we had to have somebody.
And Steve Traum, he never.
Oh, and Steve, right? You're right.
Steve, yeah.
You're right. Steve never did any of that. I don't even think he drank, did he?
Steve.
So what did they do whenever you just became Gary's guitar guy? Then they got somebody else to do.
They got some other guy, and then I don't know. That was only one leg, I think, or maybe even a couple of weeks left in the tour. And I got the Meatloaf gig, and one of my buddies had rang me from that organization and said, "Hey, man, I got something for you. It's going to run a year and a half world tour. You'll get paid straight through." And I was like, "Fuck, I work for Lynyrd Skynyrd." Well, if you want to do it, do it. And I thought, well, fuck, maybe I could work it out. Well, that became kind of an issue, but oh no, I know what happened. Ed had the heart attack. Ed had the heart attack in Macon, Georgia.
Oh, so Ed actually had a heart attack, huh?
I think.
Because I never
Pretty
really.
sure
Nobody's ever said, he just kind of left. But
well, there was an incident on the stage at the end of the show with me and Gary when Ed walked past, and he said some shit to Ed. It was a crazy thing. Nobody even knows this. Never told anybody. And he said something because the whole thing, but with him getting that guitar guy and shining me, that just fueled Gary, It fueled him. And so we went off to Macon, and we had a day off in Macon. And the phone rang about 9 in the morning in my hotel room. Fucking, I pick it up. Yeah, it was Gary. And Gary goes, "Hey, Papa." He goes, "Ed's in hospital." I was like, "Oh, what happened?" And I thought he had told me he'd had a heart attack. He might have said he had heart problems. I don't remember. I thought it was a heart attack. And he felt really bad. He said, I didn't mean that stuff I said about him last night. So that whole thing evolved, and then we went to R.A. Roth in Atlanta to the lighting company, and they had a sound stage in there or some big area we could rehearse, and we went in there set up to see if they could do it with 2 guitar players, with just Mike and Gary. That's what happened. That now I remember. That was it. I don't think, Craig, if you remember how many, we only did a couple shows. I think we only had a couple shows left.
Wow, just 2 guitar players, huh?
Yeah.
Just like back when Gary and Alan and Ed left then, so.
I guess. I don't know. And it was Mike, and Mike, it was really Mike had to pick up all the slack, Gary kind of showed him, and they rehearsed, I think it was 2 days. And then we had a big meeting with the crew and everybody. And Gary said, "Can we do this? Do you think we can do it?" Like he was like that with the crew, like I include the crew. And we all went, "Yeah, let's go for it." And said a big prayer, and off we went. And I don't remember if we canceled shows. You remember, Craig? I don't remember.
I don't remember that, no.
Yeah, well, we did that. R.A. Roth, we went off, did, I think, 2 shows, maybe. I don't remember. And then that was it. I went off to Meatloaf.
And is that when Huey came?
Well, yeah, I went off to Meatloaf, and I don't know if I was about halfway through the tour or something. I don't even know how long it was. I got a call from Gary and said, I got me to Guitar Army. And I said, oh, what do you mean? And I didn't even know there was a thing called the Guitar Army. He called Alan and I guess
Yeah,
Steve
Gary
Gaines.
Allen and Steve were the Guitar
Yeah.
Army. Yeah.
Yeah. So he called and says, I got me to Guitar Army again. And I go, yeah, what's that? He goes, I got me Huey Thomason and Ricky Medlock. And I almost shit my pants completely. I was like, oh my God, that meant more to me than fucking Ed King. And now I'm thinking, holy fuck. He said, so I'm still gonna look after you when I come back. And he went, no. I'm like, oh no.
Oh, he got a new guy.
Well, yeah. And he goes, you're gonna have to look after Huey and Ricky because they're gonna be harder than me.
Oh, wow.
So I had to jump over into that corner.
And that's when you were out in Wyoming when the first time you saw
That's
it.
when, yeah, I'd come back. I'd been out with Meatloaf.
And you said Ricky was kind of like after all that fighting and everything, and Ricky kind of goes, "Is this normal shit?
Yep. That's
Is
what I
this
thought.
what normal? Is this?" Well,
Yeah.
how was Ricky? Was Ricky,
No, he was totally sober. He was
totally sober, huh? Yeah.
stone cold. So he was all about fucking, having it happen. He really wanted it to happen. Poor old Huey, he showed, he was my fucking hero, man. The first thing I said to Huey, he'd walked in, I had his rig, and he brought his guitar in and had his stuff up, and he started to play around and said, I got to ask you a question. He goes, what's that, Pops? I said, can you give me some of that Water and Hole? I don't know if you know what Water and Hole was. A song by the Outlaws. It was an instrumental piece that featured Huey. And he just looked at me with the weirdest look and started fucking playing Water and Hole for me.
Oh, wow.
It was fucking unbelievable. Brian Evers and me are staring, going, fuck, we can't believe we got Huey Thomason in the fucking band, man. And then we started to rehearse, and I don't know, maybe it was the second day. And we started to rehearse Saturday Night Special. Poor old Huey. He couldn't get the whoop, at the beginning. There was something about it. He couldn't.
Something he couldn't get, huh?
It was weird, but it was supposed to be a totally dry, everything, no drugs, and someone had gotten drugs up there, and everyone was, was raging, and I think he'd gotten a hold of some too. I don't know for sure, but
Was Mike still there?
no,
Mike had left then. Yeah,
it was the new band.
yeah. There wasn't any room for Mike.
No, it was Huey and Ricky and Gary basically, and Leon and Billy. I don't even know who was playing drums. We went through a bunch of drummers at one point.
Might have been Curtsy.
Oh, Owen Hale and Jeff McAllister.
Was Jeff? I don't think Owen was at Jackson Hole. I don't know who that was. Maybe Owen was there. I don't know. I still go back and
Owen, and then we got Jeff McAllister.
Yeah, he was cool.
How long did it take Ricky and Huey to get their parts?
Well, not long.
Yeah.
They're, and Ricky was so cool into it. And so was he. I mean, they were perfect. Ricky was Al Collins, I mean, he played those parts to me.
Oh, yeah. He definitely. Yeah.
And Huey had the Strat, he had that fucking sound, That was another whole thing when they got there. We were the PV endorser. They had PV gear forever. Of course, I know in the old days they used some Marshalls and stuff, but we still had all that PV shit. And I was making it, apart from Ed, he had some Paul Reed Smith amps, but so we were continuing that PV thing, and they'd given us some new gear for rehearsal and stuff. Poor old fucking Huey and Ricky come in there. They looked at that PV shit, And Ricky went, man, he shook his head. He had his Marshall, his old Marshall. He's going to bring my Marshall in here, Pops. I went, well, PV gave us his shit.
So I had to use the PV shit, huh?
Well, we went, I'll tell you what happened. PV kind of fucked me on that whole thing with the PV gear. They were supposed to have some extra shit or something, and they fucked it up, and it didn't make it to Jackson Hole to get up to the place in time. And so I kind of got fucked on some stuff. So they came in and him-hawed about it. And I don't know, something happened. I had to go get on the phone with Peavy, and they said something to me, and I just went, fuck you. I came back in the room and I went, bust it out, boys. No more fucking Peavy. And so yeah, when we got out to the first production rehearsal, I had Huey drove in his pickup truck and brought his Fenders out and all that, and Ricky brought his Marshalls. Actually, I think we were down at Ricky's rehearsing before all that. I don't remember. He was another one when he said.
So the Peavy thing went away then, or?
Well, Gary's didn't, because Gary's was a sound. That was his sound. And I don't know how it evolved in the 70s, but he had a 4x12 that was half open and half closed, and it had JBLs in it. And then he had that PV Mace on top, which was a solid state front end and a tube back end. And Joe had them sounded like a Marshall, but it had a distinct open sound, a weird kind of sound to it because of the JBLs and an open back 4x12. And so to me, it was to keep, I was the old school guy. I wanted to keep the original sounds of the original band. But when Craig was there, probably, they had Marshalls. And even one day, I went to a pawn shop somewhere and brought in an Ampeg V4B I bought in a pawn shop. And Gary saw me with it and said, hey, what's that? And I said, I've just bought it in a pawn shop because we used one of them on Smell. It was an Ampeg V4B. And if you look at some of the old photos, probably during Craig's time, there was a V4B live.
Did they record with that?
Yeah. Not the one I had, but he goes, yeah, we used
the
Smell. They're great. So here we go. Can I use it in the show tonight? I'm like, you fucking kidding me? You just want me to put a pawn shop? He goes, yeah. I go, come on, man. So I fucking went out there during dinner. Everybody was eating. I was out there, woo, fucking trying to make the shit. And I did. We used it. And we used it for a couple of legs, you know. I mean, he had a Fender Blackface. I forget what it was. It was a twin of some sort that I used to run the 4x12. It was in a 2x12 head. And then I used that Ampeg to run the 212s into 2x12. You couldn't see the Ampeg. It wasn't on the stage. It was back behind it. It was pretty cool.
Now, there was a big, like, in a lot of these fan sites, there's a lot of people that think that the PV cabinets had all Marshall electronics in there because, I guess because it had the way Joe tweaked it and then had the JBLs and then everything and made it more of a... But yeah, Craig told first thing, when I first met Craig, I asked him, he goes, no, that's not true. Yeah.
I apparently, unless somebody during Mikey Sparks' time, like maybe you guys used amp places, but I worked on the amps, and I had those amps.
I always took them back to PV and had PV do them, and as far as I know, they just turned up the bias on them. I used to know how to do that, but I forgot.
Yeah, I tubed them and biased them, you know, regularly. And I had groove tubes have me a special tube for those guys, where the groove tubes, you know, that orange paint is if it would turn brown, you know, then you had it under biased, which is too hot. It's reverse with biasing. So I was doing all that work, and then Joe Osborne, when we would play Dallas, he would come out to the gig, and Joe would say, "What have you done?" You know, and then he would always, it was great because you go, "Sound like an old Marshall, pops." I go, "Well, that's what you did originally." You know, so all I did was open them up. Only thing I changed when they went to play Curtis Lowe in the set one time. Gary said that the tremolo wasn't right, and I met a guy that worked at the Gibson Custom Shop in Nashville. He was out in the back in a workshop, and he helped me do a new trim pot on the tremolo circuit. And at that time, we put a more linear pre-gain. We swapped to some new linear pre-gain pots, or I did, to get more of a rounded balance on the pre-gain. So in other words, it used to go like up to 4, and then it would go, right? It was on, and it just stayed that way to 10. So what I did was made a linear knob, because, you know, when they did Smell and they got all that feedbacks, we were having a hard time with Gary with that. And so I put that trim pot, and it got me more control over the amp. And that was PV Electronics, and it was
Was Craig, was that Was it that smell when Gary would go over by the amp and he'd take a drink of his solo cup and do a bump? Was it that smell that he was doing?
No, there was a part of the smell pops out, but we go, whoa.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
The end of it. And when Ricky and Huey came, it was badass because them guys, between the three of them, they had all the octaves, right? Each one had a different octave. But that was a pain in the ass, because I would do it in the afternoon at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock when we would do it 3 probably or 2:30. It was a different temperature. And temperature affects frequency. And so at one point I was putting X's on the stage where I'd tell them, stand out there on that X, and that's where you're going to get the feedback. But it would fucking change.
Oh, damn. So what do you do about that? Yeah.
Fucking pray. Hope they could find it, because you got to find it. You got to edge into it, And that's when I started at one point going to I used to get them from DiMarzio, controlled taper pots I was putting in the guitars. So in other words, the pots, when you measure a pot on a 500K pot, put a meter on it, and it should go 0 to 500, not 0 to 250 to 500. Like a lot of pots, CTS pots are shitty. Original Gibson pots that come in guitars and most guitars, and you turn them and they're on. You get to 4, so they're on. These things I could get 4 was one tone because those guys didn't have, Huey had a overdrive pedal, but Gary never had any pedals, so he got all these tones from the guitar.
So did they like that? Did they?
Oh yeah, it gave them a lot more even.
Did they go, hey man, what the hell did you do, man? That's great. Do they still use it that way?
Sometimes, yeah. I don't know what happened after I left. I still got some of the pots. I used to order them, like I said, from DiMarzio, and I'd get them and I'd write in a blue Sharpie on them what the value was. Each one was different. 480, 490. I try to get them right at 500 because, you want that wide open because the player knows where to go. Like Gary, he did everything off the volume pot. They're old school guy. He was an old school guy.
Gary would go up to his amp and find that sweet spot, and then he would look at the roadie and mark and time to go up and put a piece of tape right there so he would know where to stand to hit that feedback spot.
He never really did that with me much. I would tell him, But
how far were you into that Meatloaf tour when they said for you to come back? Did you finish the Meatloaf thing up?
Yeah, I did.
Was it a year and a half, like the guy told you?
Yeah, it was about a year and a half.
Was it like the international tour?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did South Africa.
What was Meatloaf like, man? Was he?
It was a totally different thing.
Yeah, that's like, what a contrast, huh?
Okay, here's a story I wanted to tell. I had this on my mind. That's why I tried to start with the whole thing when I went, "Hey, fucker." So that phrase became really popular. And one of my first legs or two that I did, Craig probably remember, I don't know what year it was, 93 maybe. We used to have different support acts all the time, and one of them was Marshall Tucker. Marshall Tucker Band came out, and they had a front of house guy that was so Southern. He came out and he walked up to when everyone was on the stage and greet their crew to come in and stuff, say hi. He went, "Hey, fuckers." And I go, "Fucking Jesus, I'm stealing that right now." That's
I remember that. I remember the "hey, fucker" stuff.
Okay, so that was that guy, right? And I went, "I'm stealing that. I'm going back to LA and I'm gonna fucking start a fucking trend." So now this now is still going on to this day. I just got a message from Bobby Schneck, a buddy of mine, guitar player and tech and Aerosmith, all these people. He's down in Siesta Key having the time of his life down there, playing in bars, and he's got different band guys come down and big players.
Is that floor? Is that
it's on
Siesta? I get Fiesta and Siesta mixed up.
No,
Siesta's over there by Clearwater, right?
Yeah, south of Tampa.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right. So he just put this whole thing about "hey fuckers." He was telling the whole story about me and my "hey fuckers" because I ran with it, right? And so the biggest part of it was I just got on that kick and I'd gotten a job with Meatloaf. So I'm going to the first rehearsal in New York City. These are New Yorkers, right? They're all the crew, all black jackets, fucking Connecticut, East Coast.
Oh yeah.
Nothing like me, nothing. They weren't Southern, there was not. They were,
Okay, you were a California guy, weren't you?
at that time, I was living in California. I
Yeah.
was born in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Grew up in Colorado, but my father was from Macon, Georgia, and his sister lived in Jacksonville, 1407 Walnut Street, down in fucking Springfield, down off of Main Street. And I used to go down there and spend the summers. Every summer when I was a kid. Used to go surfing at Jack's Beach and
Yeah, little did you know, man, that there was a hell
it's
house.
fucking insane. My cousin was a cop there. During that time. This was in late 60s and early 70s. I was there, But
Yeah.
I didn't know about Leonard Skinner.
No.
Right? And
Hell,
so
Allman Brothers and everybody was.
well, my dad, was from Macon, Georgia. So anyways, I get hired. I fucking come down. I go to New York City, right? I'm going to fucking rehearsal. And they're already in and they were having problems, tuning problems and shit. Pat Thrall was the guitar player, one of them, but he was the main guy. So Pat Thrall played in the Pat Travers band. Boom, boom, out go the lights. And he wrote Snorting Whiskey and Drinking Cocaine.
Oh, he's the one that wrote
He
that?
wrote it, Pat Thrall.
I'll be
I
damned.
get hired to be Pat Thrall's guitar tech, right? Another thing. Oh, this guy's going to come in. He's a Skinner guy. He's going to knock it dead. So they're in rehearsal already. They've started rehearsals, and I'm late because I was out with Skinner. I said I'm going to go do this Skinner. I've got to do fulfill that, and then they'll end, and I'll come over there. Okay. So I come off the plane. I come in this fucking little rehearsal room in New York City. I fucking sling the door open. I got my little. I don't have all my big work box. I think it's a little toolbox kind of thing. And they all turn and look. Right, Chasm Sultan is playing bass. Chasm played Todd Rundgren's Utopia for all those years, and there were some big players. Michelli playing drums. Marco playing piano, was a big piano player at the time. Patty Russo singing. Anyways, they all turn and look. They're all in there. And they turn and look, and I open the door and go, "Hey, fuckers!" And I'm like, hair all over the fucking place. I'm a mess because I'd been up,
You've been throwing that hey fuckers around for a while before then, huh?
So I walk in, and their jaws drop, especially Pat's, because he's a real New York guy now. He was a California Bay Area, right? Santana days and all that was going on. And he'd already had a huge career, but he was now a session guy and in New York, and he was all real he was really, God, he was so particular about everything. And I come busting through, hey fuckers, and they're looking at me, and so they stop about 5 o'clock. They're going to stop early so Pops can work on Pat's gear, and we'll start again tomorrow morning. And so Pat looks at me, he goes, "Hey man." He goes, "So you do me a favor before you do anything major, could you give me a call and just pass it by me?" And I went, "Sure thing, man." Fuck you. Who the fuck says that to me? Oh, fuck. You hired me to fix the shit. With all due respect, I'll make your instrument play as you wish. I'm fine with that, But, I'm here to fix it. So they leave, and he's got a Pensa Sir, like that fucking guitar. It was just like the Ed King guitar. I go, "You fucking kidding me?"
Oh wow.
He was buddies with Rudy Pensa, right? In New York. That was John Sir and Rudy Pensa in New York. Pensa Sir. And I go, "Oh no, it's a Pensa Sir. It has the same exact fucking, Floyd Rose. It's got tuning problems." I'm like, "Oh, I'm fucking doomed." Straight away, I'm looking at this thing. Well, I fucking go, I gotta go for it. So I rip it apart. I take the whole fucking locking nut off. I disassemble it completely, all the way apart. The Floyd Rose, everything. The Floyd Rose was wore out on the knife edges. I know it's probably over a lot of people's heads, but a Floyd Rose is a bridge that whammies and it locks. And it was the best thing to keep guitars in tune for guys who whammy all the time, right? And so I'd worked with Dweezil Zappa and was still working with Dweezil at that time. And he had Floyd's on everything. So I kind of became that guy, you know. I knew what Floyd's, how they worked and how to set them up. So I walk in, I go, well, here's his fucking problem. He's Floyd Brosis wore out. So I go in fucking office at the rehearsal and I ring Pat. It's like, 7 o'clock. Hey, Pat, it's Pops. Yeah, man. How you going? I go, pretty good. I got your Pensa Sir here in parts. He goes, and it goes quiet on the fuck. Now I'm not hey fucker guy, right? That he told.
Oh, yeah.
He goes, what do you mean parts? I go, I've disassembled it. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I got the neck off and the Floyd Bros is completely He goes, but I thought I told you. I said, fucking relax. Get your credit card out. Call Donna Rudy Pence's. Give me your credit card. I'm going to go down in the morning, pick up a shower. I said, I'll have it back together by noon. Well, what's a shower? I said, it's the new, better Floyd Bros. It's got replaceable knife edges. Apparently, you're the whammy guy. He was the guy who'd walk around the stage holding the whammy bar, wham, 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 with the fucking guitar. Same kind of thing. He whammied everything. Dive bombs, all fucking. He wore it out. He goes, are you sure? All right. So he fucking comes in the next day. And I always like to do it when the guy would walk and I'd be playing. So he comes in, I'm playing, and I pick it up. And then I turned it down and played like a G and a D. And he goes, can I play it? Like this. And he plays it. And he went, fucker. And that was it.
Oh, really? He went, hey, fucker.
And so we started the whole fucking tour and we got over to the UK. Meatloaf was massive then in the UK. And the fucking wardrobe gal comes in with a shirt, fucker on it. I'm like, you're kidding me. I'm fucking nationwide. I'm all across the fucking UK now. The hey fucker. To this day, Pat ended up moving to Vegas, and part of me moving here in the first place was Zoe, his wife, was a big studio manager, and she got the gig here managing the studio at the Palms. And I mean, she did Record Plant and Avatar and all big studios in New York. And she was a singer for Little Steven, and they were quite the couple. They moved here, and I ended up moving here. So Pat, as a matter of fact, started we were going to call it a documentary with him. I filmed 4 hours and we never got past 1974, but I've got some great footage of him saying some really cool shit. And we talk about that guitar and that whole fucker story's in there. I haven't never released it. I've been holding on to it for a while, but to this day, when he rings me, he goes, hey fucker. That's how he addresses me on the phone. It's very cool.
That's kind of like that story where Ronnie, I guess the truck driver, it's like when you ask him, you say, man, how about that traffic? You got that shit right. And that's where Ronnie got that from, you got that right from that's old redneck saying. We used to hear that all the time, man.
Right. Paul Abraham used to have some great ones, man. He would always, G. Oh,
he still does.
You want to?
Yeah, I picked that G'd up from him. I use that all the time.
Yeah, me too, man.
Jew.
I really should bring him. I hope he's okay.
We tried to get him on, and he had problems getting
he
on.
Had phone problems. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to try him again. Yeah,
he actually had email problems. He couldn't get my link. I couldn't send him a link.
He's got he was there, man. And it would. I was there with him towards the end of his tenure, but I was kind of a thorn in Paul's ass for a little bit because I used to get into trouble, and with Gary, and there used to be a rule, if you're not every beginning we'd have a production meeting, and Charlie Brusco would come out there and have a big meeting, but whatever you want. Okay, I don't want you guys hanging out with the band. On days off and going to get in trouble. And that means you pops. And, and I always go, yeah, okay. And then you'd get somewhere and Gary'd ring you, hey man, come on down to 232 or whatever. And there'd be a raging party. And something happened. I didn't miss a flight, but something went squirrely on one of the flights. And we were flying after a gig and I got on hotel lockdown where I couldn't leave the hotel without Brian Evers being with me. Johnny was on it too, I think. Me and Johnny. Heck, hotel supervision, you know. And Paul got in charge of me on fly dates. I was supposed to stay in Paul's room. And the first night I was supposed to do that, I didn't. And Paul didn't know where I was. I was in Gary's room, and he showed up there at, I don't know, some like 5 in the morning or fucking. I was in there raging.
What the hell are you doing in here?
Oh,
Huh?
I'm lucky he didn't punch me out because that's what
Yeah.
Paul did. Paul
He's
was,
got some great stories, man. Paul does. When he was talking about when those guys would get in fights and things, and it's just a lot of fighting and shit going on, just always people fighting.
he somebody rang me. I don't know if it was Paul. I think it was Paul. He said, "Call me in the hotel. Get down here in fucking hotel parking lot, and your buddy's punching the bus windows out." Johnny was down because Johnny and I would hang out on days off, and I go, "What?" And I guess I don't know how the story went. I don't know if that was the particular time, but Paul punched him out.
Yeah, that's in the book. That's in Paul's book.
I don't know if it was that night.
Yeah, I actually read that part.
Was it the one where he was punching the bus windows out or something?
He didn't mention the bus windows. Well, maybe he punched. Maybe he did it a couple times. But,
Paul was a big old boy. He was.
Yeah, he was. He was. When I first met Paul, I'd seen pictures of him and everything, and I met him at the monument, and he like very slim and tall guy, and I was like, and somebody said that's Paul Abraham, and I go, that's not Paul Abraham. I remember, and I remember going up to him and going, you don't look. He goes, man, I don't look anything like I did.
Yeah, he's a football player. That's Floyd. Floyd, look at the camera. He wants to be.
That's a big cat, man.
His name is Pretty Boy Floyd. When we first got him, he was only like 6 months old. And we didn't want another cat. We had a cat that wasn't going to let him in. Mr. Cat was our guy at the time, and he was at the back door, and it was raining. It was January. Paul fucking. We let him in, and we took him to the vet to see if he had a chip or anything. He was only a little bitty thing. And we go, what is it? And they go, it's got to be a girl because it was beautiful, really. Oh, it's almost like a Maine Coon. And they go, yep, that's a girl. They held it up. Yep, that's a girl. So then we left it there, and we called back to anybody, want to claim it, or is it got no chips, no nothing. So what do you want to call it? I'm like, well, we don't really want to keep it. We want someone to take it. And they go, oh, by the way, it's a boy. And I go, bullshit. That cat's too good. It must be gay. No offense. It must be.
Well, they told you it was a girl, though.
They did. But then they rang and said, no, it's a boy. And I go, it's insane. So we called it Pretty Boy Floyd because he was too fucking pretty. And he's whiny and fidgety. I go, I know he's gay. He's got to be. He's just a fucking gay cat. But he's mean as shit. He attacked my wife. Clawed her whole arm up really bad. We've had him 6 years, but he's not the friendliest. He won't get in your lap and sit there and purr. He don't want nothing.
Yeah, he might have some Siamese in him. Those Siamese are freaking mean, man. I had one that ate me alive. They tried to do a stool sample, and that cat didn't want anything. I got this cat out of an orange grove when it was just a little tiny. And that thing, I was talking to my buddy about that. He was with me when that cat bit me. He bit like 3 or 4 people at the vet's office, and then they said, don't ever bring that cat back here.
Well, this one claws. I mean, he like goes and bites at the same time. Like it's like something out of a movie. A
lot of people they remove the nails, but have you ever seen how they do that? That's brutal, man. That's some really bad.
Then they can't defend themselves.
No, yeah,
he's an indoor cat, but if they get out, then they can't defend themselves, and that's not fair, But
hey,
I just heard where you're not supposed to spade or neuter your dog until they're like, especially neuter until they're like 2, because if you do, it messes up their something about their something that messes them up. They've just learned that it's not good to neuter them right away. You're supposed to wait
maybe that transgenders them.
It does something weird to them, you know. Yeah, they found out, especially bigger dogs. Yeah, it's not
This
supposed to.
must only be in Los Angeles, maybe.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah.
You know, look, man, I was an LA guy and I loved it. I bragged about LA. I thought it was the best thing since Bottle Melt. And then one day I just cracked it and left, you know. Um, and it's sad. I used to have my orthopedic surgeon. As a matter of fact, I should say that now. This is why wanted to apologize. And so many nice people left comments about my episode and all that. And I wanted to help you guys out with your cause, to maybe raise some money for some people. But I've had medical issues, and there's been a lot of medical. So I've gotten through the first one. Well, not the first one, the fifth one, but I have some more coming up. So I have a lull right now, while before I get my next surgeries going. But I had a right knee replacement, and it all went really well. And it took about 4 months all up to. I'm still rehabbing a little bit, but it's really a lot better than the left one was. So I can walk again. But I have osteoarthritis, so I have it, and it's attacked all the joints in my body. So I had my wrists are really bad, and my shoulders, and it's just fucked.
Yeah, I had a bunch of surgeries too from an accident I was in, and I met a lot of people with that osteoarthritis. That's a mother, man. That's some bad shit right there. You don't ever know what's going to attack next.
Well, it's got me. It's had the main joints for a number of years, 10 years. I was working with it,
Do
and
your hands
my
always
knees were the
sore?
first ones. My knees, it
Yeah.
started with my knees,
How
and then
about
it
the hips? The hips all right?
knock on wood, but I'm worried about the hips because the knee replacements are so brutal. And the left knee, I had problems. It froze at 92 degrees out of.
Oh, yeah, that's always the scary part.
Well, I had to go back and get an MUA. It was the second surgery, and it fucking took me nearly 7 months to ride a bike. And it throttled my hips so bad, I just quit doing everything. So fuck it. It's never going to be good. It's wrong. It's fucked up. And I'm just going to have to live with it because my hip was so bad. Because your knee don't bend, so the hip takes all,
Right, yeah. It transfers to other things.
especially trying to ride a bicycle. So I transferred everything from California, my medical care from my 11-year guy in LA, which was like they were top doctors, involved with the Grammys and all that shit. And I transferred it last summer, and I just went, I can't do this. I can't go back to LA all the time. So I had a guy do it here. I got the guys that do the Raiders and the Golden Knights. And my guy was a young guy, and he specifically does UFC. And so, dude, it was so amazing. I was riding a bike at 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, those sports guys, those sports docs, they're the guys, man, to get.
Yeah.
They
Well,
because they got to know what they're doing, man. I mean,
my guy in LA was the fucking team doctor for Team USA Olympics for the volleyball.
some of that stuff it can't be helped, when you get a frozen joint like that, sometimes it doesn't have anything to do, it's the
Well,
rehab and
the knee, in especially, is the minute you come out of surgery, you wake up, you got to be bending that fucking knee. You got to be. It will freeze on you. And I think that was part of my deal. It is so painful. It's brutal. And, the first time a guy gave me 60 oxycodons, and said, you got to take them. You got to take them. And you got to take them before, as soon as you wake
you
up, you
got to
start
get them in
taking
your
things.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hate that shit. Now, this guy, the new laws, and this is just in the last 5 years. I had 2020 was the first knee. This one in Nevada is 7 days. They'll only give you 7 days, one every 4 hours for 7 days. That's all they give you. Then you got to go back and get it another seven.
Yeah, they monitor that stuff, man.
It's a whole, and I'm fine with that because I hate that shit. It's
I do too.
like taking heroin, that stuff.
Yeah,
It makes me sick.
it makes you. Some people I get headaches and nausea and dizzy.
Nausea. I had them give me nausea medicine this time, but this time I did it right. I got me some gummies, THC gummies, that 10 milligram ones that were indica, and I got some indica weed, and so I took all that as well. And they gave me some nerve pills too, that also help with pain. So I
Yeah,
did all that shit. and I slept. That made me sleep, right? Because I would take them indica gummies. And boy, I was going to sleep. But I'm going to tell you something. When I started to come off that shit, then I had another problem, because
Yeah.
then I was not sleeping at a month. 1 month into it, I was like, fuck, I'm not sleeping.
Now you were kind of dependent on it.
Well, I just started smoking weed, and I would start at 6 o'clock, and start smoking, and that would calm me, and I would fall asleep. But the pain is crazy.
When they replaced my hip, I had to walk up 3 steps they built these steps for you before you could leave. You had to walk up steps. And I was like, well, that's crazy, because
Yeah.
I couldn't even move my leg for like a week.
Yeah.
It's hips are safer than knees,
I'm right shoulder next. I just saw the guy yesterday. Got another doctor just for the shoulders. Same outfit. He used to be a pitcher for the Phillies or something. Lawrence Hoff is his name. And he's got some new techniques. I said, look, dude, I play guitar. I saw the hand guy a week ago. And that's not good, because I thought it was carpal tunnel or something. But my fucking joints are gone. It's ate the joint at the end of the thumb. And the only thing they can do is a surgery where they fuse a new part in there that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't.
See, Craig don't have any of that shit,
That's because he's smoking weed and doing bumps all fucking day.
Craig don't have nothing wrong with him, man. It's like
That's amazing. It's amazing.
You say, and the thing about it is too, it's like he kind of like makes fun of people that do, but Craig, I think a lot of it with Craig is a lot of stuff doesn't bother him, like it bothers normal people, because he gave me this gummy and I took it, and I swear to God, I was crawling around on the floor for 2 days, man. And he took 3 of them. He took 3 of them.
My wife is like that. My wife is like that. Here's a good story for you. Well, maybe I should I'll tell part of it. One of them, my wife could smoke weed. I have to limit my wife. I have to roll her 1 joint every night at 5 o'clock. And if I'm feeling nice, I'll give her 2 joints, right? Or she would smoke. If I give her the bag, the ounce, it'd be gone in several days.
Well, that's Craig.
Yeah, but I said, you need to meet Craig. You need to go hang out with Craig and see if you can put him under. Because he's badass, man. He's fucking badass. She can't drink, but she can smoke weed till the cows come home. And it would break us if I just let her run with it. And she gets pissed off and has all, my husband. I said, I fucking have to. We'd be broke.
She's actually become immune. She has to smoke more because she's got it. Like Craig, there's a guy that we know. I don't know if you know Gene, but he says Craig's got blood in his THC stream.
Gary Rossington could smoke some weed.
Yeah, he could. Well, he could do all of it. He could do,
And Pops, have you? I don't know. You probably don't pay attention too much, but Craig, he was giving prizes away, for the subscribers. He goes, you know what? I got a lot of stuff laying around, and I'm just going to start giving them away to some of the subscribers. And so I said, yeah, that's a great idea. So I was egging him on, and he, like 18 people he gave away. Then he decides, it's not important, and he's not going to mail that shit out. And he still hasn't, and it's been over a year.
I'm putting it together. Hey, I'm getting
but
it
that's
together.
not my point. My point is people Craig they send Craig all kinds of care packages, like big bags of weed. And,
really?
Yeah, bricks of hash. And these people are going, look at that son of a bitch. He won't send the prizes out, but he's getting all this weed,
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
He gets he has a lot of people come by and brings him little presents,
I'll tell you what was great for me is, I had a lot of people send me friend requests.
Yeah, look at this one.
Oh,
Yeah, that's all freebie stuff.
holy Jesus. That's crazy. They just put that in the mail?
No, they
he
bring it by his
brought
house.
it by here. I get somebody to stop by every couple weeks and bring me a care package.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I just
He
feel
gets
sorry for that.
he
feel sorry.
gets coffee and soap and just you name it, man. He gets people send him
Oh,
stuff.
I haven't bought any soap. TP sends me that Duke Cannon, that big ass brick of soap, Duke Cannon. She says she sent me every flavor of that there is, man. It's great big bars of soap. That's good. She sends me Jack Daniel's coffee and
They must feel sorry for you. They go, look at that. Look
No,
at
I
hair's
think,
getting all old. He's
all
fucking
kind of stuff.
brain damaged and all of
well,
that.
the thing is
Wow.
is they want to say they smoked weed with the
Oh.
Stone Roadie.
You ought to make T-shirts. You ought to make
They're gonna-
T-shirts. I smoked weed with Craig Reed.
Yeah, they're going to end up killing him one day because they're lining up at his door trying to get high with the Stone Roadie, you know. But
That's funny.
he's 75 years old, you know. He don't only take so much of that stuff, man.
I was talking to, here's something I wanted to say. After I'd done your podcast, I started getting, lots of friend requests from people I don't know, that were actually on the show, but they were so great and complimentary and just really nice people. And I became friends with some of them, and one of them's Otto,
Oh yeah, Otto, he's cool.
I was watching, I tried to hook him up with a buddy of mine that owns a big company up in Cincinnati that him and I toured together with Ronnie Dio many years. He became successful. You might even have heard of the company, Loud and Clear, it's called. And he does a lot of big events. I mean, he owns big outdoor stages now. He's a big shot now. And Otto said, I want to get out of this corporate crap. And I said, well, fuck, what do you do? And I don't, here, call my buddy Billy. Well, nothing happened with that. And then I started to just talk to him. And then I noticed that one of his poems, he writes poems, right? And I see it on his thing. And I'm like, fuck, that's really good. So I sent him a message and I said, dude, you write lyrics? He goes, yeah, I write lyrics. I got a bunch already. I go, you want to send me one? I just want to check it out. So he sent me one. I go, you mind if I write a song with us? You want to write a song with me? And he went, yeah, sure. So I've been working on this fucking tune. Of course, I haven't, I had to tell him, and I'm already guilty of it, that I get where I can't play, my hands hurt, or I get unwell, or my wife's got fucking appointments, or I got appointments, and so much to do, and I won't even turn on Pro Tools for a month. I said, so don't get upset if I'm not in touch with you. And he goes, oh, that's no worries. So I started writing it, and it's a Skynyrd kind of type, Southern kind of rock kind of thing. I think it's going to be good. I got into about halfway into it. Once I get past it, I got the hook, already, and the pre-chorus. Now I'm just getting ready to get into the chorus, and then it should be easy from there out, and then make the vocals fit. But it's his lyrics.
Yeah, he's actually sent Barry Lee Harwood some stuff, and Andy Tanis, and they've all said, man, you got a little something going on there with those,
Yeah. Well, I said, let's just fucking do something, and we'll do 50%. We'll put publishing.
Well, when you get that thing done, let us hear it, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, definitely, I will. And here's another one. John J.T. Williams. He's the guy from Tennessee.
John Williams, yeah, he's the tower guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, John the Tower.
Yeah, he stops
nutbag.
by here a lot. Yeah, he's cool.
He's a fucking nutcase, right?
That guy's a cool dude.
I get a fucking phone call. I get a message. Oh, wow.
That's copper, solid copper. Weighs about 6.
That's crazy.
He gets the copper off those towers and melts it down.
Oh my God.
Craig got another present.
He made friends with me on Facebook, and then one day I get a message, hey Pops, this is John Williams, and I'm like, who the fuck is that? I don't know. And he says to me, I'm in town, and I'm with wow, that is so cool.
That's cool, man.
Really cool. And he goes, I'm at the National Association of Broadcasters, and he sends me his fucking website, and I'm looking at these towers and helicopters and shit, and I go, the fuck? What what is it?
Yeah.
He goes, I build these things. I'm like, what? And so he goes, I don't even know the guy, right? And so this is something I would normally not do, is invite someone I don't know to my house. But he sent me a message and goes, I'm only staying over on Dean Martin. He goes, "Hey, how about I come by in the morning, pick you and your wife up, and we'll go to the show, to the broadcasters convention." I had passes to it already. And I'm like, to get me out of the house to go do any of that shit, I just don't like to go down the strip. And I don't even like to leave the house, right? And so I thought about it and him hawing, I don't know. And I said, I don't know, man. And then that was a Monday he offered. And Monday afternoon, I told my wife, you know what? We should fucking do this. So I sent him a message. Hey, you going to be here tomorrow? And he says, yeah. He goes, I'll come by and get you. I said, okay. And I hang up and I tell my wife, this is crazy. I'm inviting someone to the house I don't even fucking know. We're going to get in his car and go somewhere. Right? And he comes in his fucking pickup truck that's like, takes up half the driveway in the street.
Oh, yeah.
As well,
It's a
and
work truck.
He's just like the best good old boy. He fucking comes and, hey, man, nice to meet you.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man. He's a great guy.
We went and hung out. We went to lunch, and we didn't get into the show because there was no parking. And I just went, fucking leave. Anyway, so we went and had lunch. We took him down to Fremont Street and walked around a little bit. He had to get going, But it was just unbelievable. I'm like, I've met people like him now and Otto, people that I have no clue who they are, but are becoming better friends than my friends that I got rid of, that I don't even talk to anymore,
I tell you what, there's many cool people like Robert Wheatley. We met this guy. You'd love Robert Wheatley. He's donated. God, how much money has he donated to the?
He sent Randall $800, I think, and he sent Gene.
Just sent Gene 400.
Just sent him
and he gave me and Craig a drone. Craig
gave one to cousin Figel.
Yeah,
these nice drones. He gave me the goggles and
the cameras. He
gave my son Chad some.
If you need any electronics, he'll hook you up, man, with like cell phones, laptops, and he's just a great
cameras,
great
lenses, rifle scopes.
I just bought a new
phones,
iPhone.
All that. He's got rifle scopes. He's got the kind of thermal scopes and all that shit, man.
I did the dreaded iPhone, I had a 10 and I've had it for a lot of years and it still worked fine except for the battery was dying. I had to bite the bullet. The wife, I got her a new one. She had an iPhone 7, and both of ours, the battery would die in 3 minutes, and fucking finally did that and bought those. And then I had a TV upstairs, a big Sony 55-inch in one of the rooms with a nice Yamaha surround system. Well, it never gets watched or played, and it's outdated, 16 years old. It's brand fucking new, really, never been watched, but it's outdated. And I took the cable box away because we never watched anything up there. So I tried to hook my phone up to it via HDMI, and it was always a pain in the ass. It never worked right because it's new technology. So finally, last week, I just went, what am I fucking doing? I went online, Sam's Club, 55-inch Samsung Smart TV, right? $297. I couldn't fucking believe it.
Oh, yeah, they're throwaway disposables.
Yeah, well, you just watch them for a few years and throw it away. Well, the technology's changing so much.
Yeah, there's hardly any TV repair people left.
Right. And so I went and the old TV was still fine. It worked and everything. It looked good. It's a Sony. When I bought those TVs, those things were like $2,500.
Yeah, like those Sony Trinitrons. Remember those Trinitrons?
Oh, yeah.
Those things were expensive.
Absolutely. Then I fucking I tried to make the old Yamaha system work. Well, now it's not the HDMI cable, it's a ARC. Now it's EARC, right? It's an upgraded version. So it'll work compatible, but not really. So anyways, I tried to buy some fucking adapter and I dicked with that for 2 days. And I go, this is stupid. I went online, you buy a whole new fucking receiver, $300. A Denon I got. It's like, it's insane.
Yeah, just go to Walmart and for $300 get you a big TV. What's that? You got? Is that a turntable behind you there?
Oh yeah. Well, this is vintage shit here though. If you can see the other thing, it's there. Maybe you can see it now. Underneath it is the receiver. It's a Marantz. That's a
Oh yeah.
Marantz 2220B. That I've
How
had
old is that?
1977. I
Yeah,
bought.
that's the kind of stuff that Craig, you guys were getting over in Europe, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Well, we used to buy shit in Japan, in the 80s. We would buy Sony shit, but this I've had since high school. I bought it from a stereo, it was called CMC at the time. This was handmade in Chatsworth, California. That's where Marantz used to be. Marantz are still, they make big time shit, but it's made in Japan. And I after all the years, I bought this Marantz to match it. Is the turntable. I bought it here in Vegas when I got here. There was one on Craigslist, and I got that.
What year is it?
It's just about the same.
Same, yeah.
They're 78. It matches it. It was.
Do you have a reel to reel and all of that
No,
stuff
I
too?
don't. I do, but I don't have. It's packed away, and I got all the yellow stuff. The Marantz runs a pair of JBL 43. What are they? 43. Oh, I can never remember. 4313Bs. They were actually the speakers that were in the Zappa recording truck.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, I used them for reference. One time Pat Thrall came over, he looked, he said, "Those things just for show." I went, "No, I actually run it with the Marantz."
Do you keep in touch with old Dweezil?
Occasionally. Hang on one second. Let me let this cat get out in the garage.
Craig,
I never knew anything about Pops messing up the SG.
Oh,
tuning.
that Freebird
Never
thing?
knew
Yeah.
anything about that. Yeah.
Oh, you never knew I put
No,
that.
I never. I was back in the production. I was back in the production. I was probably doing stuff and never even knew nothing about it.
But,
Never heard nothing about it or nothing.
Well, when I put that thing from that Harley thing, and he couldn't break it, and he called me out to the bus before they left after the show, and he said, "What'd you do to my guitar?" I said I put a fucking
titanium bar.
yeah. I said I put on it so you couldn't fucking break it no more. And I said, and you should just stop doing that because then you're gonna break the neck off and no one's gonna fix it and they'll be fucked and you won't have that guitar.
Did he keep doing it?
Oh no, he stopped.
When's the last time you talked to Gary?
Oh,
You remember?
that's another whole story. So I left abruptly. We were having production manager issues. The '97 tour was really spectacular. Jeff Butendorf was production manager and James Scallion in production. It was top notch. It was the best Skynyrd tour we ever did with production managers. As a real professional to my knowledge. Anyways, new buses, everything was really run top notch, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was Joe Boylan didn't have something to do with it anymore, or Charlie took over, or what, because there was two managers, and Charlie brought one of his guys out, and he was just really not very good, and we didn't see eye to eye, and the band became like, we went away from all the top production, we became a fair band. We were playing county fair.
That was Fred Frenchy, I think.
Yeah, that's him. That's him. I actually didn't want to say the name, but I didn't want to.
He was actually a friend of mine. He's right from here, from Kent.
Really? Well, we didn't see eye to eye. I'm sure you knew about it because I wasn't there when you got to the gig. But that was a big blow up. Anyways, they weren't going to get rid of him, and the management said I was the problem. So I said, okay, well, I'll just leave.
He died a few years ago, so we can talk about him,
Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, pretty much everybody that's ever left has probably left on some kind of a bad term.
Well, and
Craig left because he peed all over everybody on the tour bus.
I would expect nonetheless, and I think that's a great look. I love him because that's the way he is.
That's how rumors get spread. I didn't pee
Craig said, I didn't pee on anybody. I just peed all over the bus.
Oh yeah, I was
He didn't even know he
sleepwalking.
did it. He didn't even know he did it.
I just didn't pee my pants. That's all I know.
Some of these people tell me, they go, Craig, he does this, he does. I said, well, that's why I fucking love him. I said, Craig is Craig, and that's it, period. and that's like me. I'm the same fucking way. If I don't like you, I'll tell you.
How about Ed King? What was the last time when he had the heart attack and left? Was that the last time you saw him?
I didn't talk to him after I tried to pull him out of his bus, shove his guitar in his face.
That was it, huh?
We never even spoke on tour after that.
Wow.
But it wasn't long after he was done. So it was only a few weeks. And then he had the heart attack.
What about Leon?
Or what?
What was the last time you had any conversation with him?
Oh, I didn't. Billy, I did. And Ellen, I kept in touch with Ellen until just a couple of years ago. And still Ellen's son, Brandon, I'm in touch with him a lot. We go back and forth, He remembers me as a little kid and he just has always kept in touch. The Powell family was very receptive when we moved to Jacksonville. When my wife and I moved there, Ellen brought the kids over and, we were kind of, in with those guys. And Billy, poor Billy, he would ring me when I moved to Jacksonville, when in later years, I guess it was 94 or 5 or so. I don't remember when we moved back there. And Billy would, hey, Pops, let's go out in the boat.
He liked that boat, didn't he?
Craig fucking knows. Craig knows. And I would go.
Oh, yeah. You go down and sit at the end of the runway at the NAS where those planes go over you about 100 foot over your head. Yeah.
I felt so bad. All those years. I would say, Billy, I got a lot to do today. Because, I knew what was going to, they'd put that, because he didn't do any of it. They put it in for him and, he just get in and, whoa!
You still get stuck in a sandbar all day with Billy, though.
You get fucking drowned out in the ocean. You get in the St. John's River and fucking do 130 down the fucking channel, going out into the sea. I never went. I knew what it was going to be. And we would get out on tour and he would go, hey, Pop, how come you never go on the boat with me? I go,
but you weren't living there, huh?
Yeah. I lived in Jackson.
You were?
Almost a year. Yeah, they were going to build this Van Zandt compound. They were going to make a rehearsal place and a studio on the Van Zandt property. That was an idea, and they offered me the job to run it and to look after the gear. We sort of gear would come back there, and I would live in Jacksonville. I was already going to be moving there. They wanted me to live down there and do that, and so I went. Yeah.
Where were they going to build it?
Apparently at the Van Zandt, they were going to call it the Van Zandt compound. So I don't know.
Yeah, that was like that. I heard something about that. They were going to have like a place for everybody to stay and had their own plane. And
I don't know about all that, but
I heard something about that.
Yeah, and so they offered the job to me, and I had left and gone to Australia and got married, and I wasn't going to come back. That's when Gary rang me. They all went to rehab and all that, and we did all of that, and I came back, and I moved to Jacksonville. Dale Macon picked up the gear and all my furniture we had shipped from Australia back, and he drove it to Jacksonville, and we lived out in Bay Meadows, out in the South Part. That was a brand new area at the time.
Yeah,
and
that's nice out there.
And Natron Means lived in our area.
That's out there. Green Hell House is just a little further south.
Before St. Augustine.
Green Cove Springs.
Yeah, it's out there on the way to St. Augustine's almost.
Yeah,
kinda, not exactly. So we moved down there, and then they shit canned the whole idea. We left, but I had some great times because Brian and I grew up fishing Julianton Creek as a kid already. I used to go to Whitey's Fish Camp, as a kid, and we even went to Whitey's Fish Camp when we lived down there. I took my aunt down there, and we had a couple of dinners.
Yeah, it's different now. Whitey's it's nothing like it was back then. Yeah.
So, anyways, I had a little John boat, and me and Brian Evers, we would go down and put it in the very tip of Julianton Creek and go down, and he would take me around, show me where, where Ronnie and them would fish sometimes, and it was pretty cool. But we were only there for about 7 months. They shit canned the whole idea, and I said, I'm out of here. I went back to LA. So, anyways,
How did you like living in Australia?
it was different.
Yeah, there's too many things there that can sting or bite you that'll kill you. Like, it's like some
Snakes.
funnel web spiders and,
Ever tell you my fucking brown snake story about Australia?
no.
One
Yeah.
one almost got me. Third month we were there, we got this rental house. And I had a bunch of boxes laying out the side of the house. And we weren't far. We were like on an inlet from the ocean. And like a
Where all the great whites are.
fuck, dude. The signs at the beach, right? They got a caution sign. And it's got snakes, sharks, jellyfish, and crocodiles on it.
Oh, yeah.
That's at the beach, right? I'm like, fuck this. This is insane. So, anyways, we're there, right? And I'm committed now. I've already sent the cat and the cars, and I tried to turn it around. I had problems. That's when we left LA, when the Irving Azoff shit happened. We sold the house and left. And that's, anyways. So we get this rental house, and I'm out there doing some shit and throwing boxes, and I fucking see something slither, and I'm like, fuck, is that a fucking snake? I don't like snakes at all. That fucking Julianton Creek used to freak me out because the fucking snakes would fall out of them cypress trees into the fucking boat, and the gators were everywhere. And Brian Evers always goes, let's get out and fish up here and out. And get out of the boat. Are you fucking kidding me? These fucking gators are like, rock, rock, as you go down past them in the boat, You wouldn't want to be down there after dark. I was like, it's getting dark. We got to go. Anyways, so I see this thing slither, and I go, I fucking look like a snake. And all of a sudden, up out of the box comes this snake, and like this, and its head got all wide. And it reared back, and it looked exactly like a cobra. And I'm
But
thinking,
it's a brown snake?
well, I didn't know. I thought that it was a cobra, a real cobra, that someone's pet cobra had gotten out of the fucking cage and came in my yard. I'm like, this is insane. And so it's like, and it's going like this, and it's like coming towards me. I'm going, holy fuck. Then I backpedal into the fucking house, and I go, I'm coming at my wife, hey, there's a fucking, someone's cobra. I thought I was going to start spitting at me. Really? This is true. And she goes, bullshit. And she's fucking laughing because my wife's rough and tough. She's got Harley Davidson tattooed on her arm, and she has the balls, right? She's got balls. I don't. Anyways, she's fucking laughing. Let's fucking go see it. And I'm fucking going. I go out in the shed, and there's a shovel. And I go, God, grab this fucking shovel. And she goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm going to fucking kill this thing. I don't know what it is, but it's scary. So I got to tell you, it wasn't even 1 minute. And that fucking thing came out again. Like it was coming after us. Like it was something out of a fucking horror movie. Here it comes. It's fucking doing this. I went, whack. Fucking cut his head right off.
No shit. Was it a big snake?
Yeah. Well, 6 foot, 5 foot probably. Anyways.
Did she tell you what it was? What kind of snake it was? Did she know?
We didn't have cell phones. Well, maybe we had an original, but it wasn't you couldn't take a picture. So called one of her friends, and because that's a brown snake. They're the most deadliest snakes in the world.
Damn.
We had one right in the fucking yard. First house. I'm like, oh.
I know Australia's got all kinds of stuff there that'll kill you, man.
Yeah, we had to do our shoes at the house. You had to dump them all the time because these white spiders or brown spiders, I forget what they're called. They get in your shoes, get in there and lay eggs and shit. One night, we're laying at the house. We lived on a property. It was about 1.5 acres, and it had a little stream running through it. It was just beautiful. It was not far from the beach, and just it was amazing. And I hated everything about Australia. I had a rough time there. People were fucked up to me. They don't like Americans.
If you went up to somebody there and said, "Hey, fucker," what would they do?
As soon as you started talking, everyone, you from America? Well, yeah, and then they would know everything about America. And, I could go on and on with the stories. But one night on this property, we're laying in bed, at nighttime, went to bed. There was 2 spiders on the roof. They were as big as softballs. and they're just like going around. I'm like, it's fuck right above our bed. I'm like, wow, fuck. She goes, leave me alone. I killed a spider at my wife's house when we first met, when I first moved down there. And she almost came unglued. It was her pet spider. It lived outside, but she was feeding it. It was looked like a tarantula, right? I killed it.
She sounded like a Crocodile Dundee type
But
chick.
she still is. She's still that fucking way. I can't. She's in Australia right now. She's decided she wants to go back and be in Australia, and so she comes back for medical shit and stays a couple months and goes back. And this is why I'm on with you, because I get a little bit of a break from medical. She's got so much medical shit, But I got a couple of one quick Australia story. Well, there's a couple, but one, I was down at this liquor store buying some liquor, Dan Murphy's. It was it's like a warehouse type shit. It was pretty big. And I had gotten a hat given to me by my wife's adopted boy. We used to call him Flea. And it was a cop hat. Now in Australia, you can't get cop hats. They don't sell them. It's illegal. It's like you wear a cop hat if you're a cop. That's it. He got me one. So I had a cop hat on backwards, right? And my hair ponytail out the back, and I'm buying some liquor, and this fucking looked like a homeless guy, but he was obviously some Australian hippie guy. And, his 30s, and he's going to be a tough guy, right? It was kind of a tough neighborhood down in this Frankston place. And he fucking goes, mate, you a cop? I just turned and looked him in the face, and I said, I'm sorry. I'm unable to disclose that information to a person that resembles someone like you. And he just looked at me like he didn't know what to fucking say. And I just paid for my shit and left the fucking store. Like, fuck you. You get to come out here, and they don't have guns, I mean, they're just starting to get guns.
They took all their guns.
I mean, what are you going to come out, pull a fucking knife on me? I mean, like, you wasn't really worried. So then one time we're down fishing on the fucking jetties in the Patterson Lake, and we're on these fucking rocks, and this group of hoodlum kids. There's about 5 or 6 of them coming. I look at Flea and I go, oh man, look at this. Here comes the fucking hoodlum kids. I hope they're not going to start shit now. Hey, mate, they fucking yell, and I go, what? And the kid goes, oh, an American, like this, and I go, oh no. So I'm looking at Flea and I go, fuck, man. I said, we take the first one, and we ram his head down these rocks. I go, the rest of them will probably run. And he goes, you got a gun? And I go, yep. Just like that. I go, we heard that about you American Yanks. Y'all got guns. Like this. I'm like, oh, fuck it. They just turned and left. They think we all have guns. I go, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those people from England, they come over here and go to Disney World, and they're scared shitless that somebody's going to kill them. I've ran into several of them, and they just think that, they get over on I-Drive, and they're afraid they're going to get mugged. And it's.
The Australians are the opposite. We got our family come here and shit, and they're fearless. I have to warn.
Oh yeah.
I have to warn. They don't have that
tough.
shit down.
Those people are tough, man.
Well, my wife's brothers were karate guys and fighting guys and bikers. She was married to a Hell's Angel.
Well, they don't have crocodiles and all these venomous snakes and things like over in England. Over there in Australia, man, you got to be pretty damn tough to be living there.
Well, it's a tough place. It just, they don't, and I came in the music business, and I knew people, and I thought, that I was a shoe-in to fucking open my company and kill it, because I knew people, and I had blessings. I was going to be an online retailer. It was when, all the e-commerce was just starting, and I mean, they shot me down. They refused to sell to me. They treated me like fucking shit, and saying stuff to me about coming down there and getting in the music business and all this. And I stopped probably 30 days into it. I wanted to go home 30 days after.
We had a guy on the podcast. He claims that he was God damn, man, I'm having a senior moment. Who's the lead singer for AC/DC again?
Right.
Yeah, Von Scott. He claimed that he was his son.
Oh yeah. Was he on your show?
Yeah, we had him on the podcast.
Saw that. Maybe that's where I saw that. Yeah. Yeah, did you ever find out for
I
sure?
was going to ask you to ask your wife maybe if she knows anything about that because she knows him.
Well,
She knew him.
one of her friends that
I got
lives
to
up
get my tea.
one of her friends that lives up in Oregon um, used to run the band house for AC/DC, and she ended up marrying John Hartman from the Doobie Brothers and moving to America. But she would have been the one to know. She was actually fooling around with Angus at one time, when they were young. I think she fooled around with him.
Yeah, there's so many people that claim this guy is, full of shit, and a lot of like Bon Scott, this lady that is was his friend, said he's just completely lying. But the guy is just nicest guy in the world, man. Very believable. I
You
mean,
know,
I don't know if you would look at him and say, he looks like him, but he doesn't like look terribly different. But I don't know.
Bon,
Craig and I kind of believed him.
Bon Scott was around, before AC/DC. He was in a very
Yeah,
popular band.
and he didn't sing like that. He was
No, he
saying,
did not. No,
yeah.
did not. And Malcolm and Angus, from what I know, it just when he showed up, he was like, they were like, "Oh my God, this guy's out of control." He drank a bottle of Jack Daniels before they went on in the
Oh
first.
yeah.
And so who knows what could have happened? But you never know about those kids because I'll tell you, when I lived in LA, I lived in the Valley in Sherman Oaks, and there's a couple little pubs right there on Burbank. One was the Robin Hood Pub, and it was very popular with celebrity musicians. It was just a little place, and it was real private, right? So people didn't go there to find celebrities. And Ozzy used to go there, and Rod Stewart and a bunch of people. It was my local hangout. It was my place. That's where I went. I could go to back streets down to my little apartment without getting pulled over or anything, back through the neighborhood. Anyways, I was in there one night, and this kid came in, and he had a bicycle, and he was hammered. And he wanted to get a beer, and they're like, he didn't have any ID and this and that. And he said his name was Ben, and he goes, "My dad is Manford Mann."
Oh,
Right?
no
Remember
shit.
Manford
Oh
Mann's
yeah, man for man band.
and
Yeah.
he wouldn't fucking serve him and all of this shit. And the kid, I put his bike in my trunk of my little RX-7 and drove him home down to the house, and we hung out and we drank a little bit. And he proved to me it was him. And
Oh,
so
no
I
shit.
brought him back to the pub another time. He came in there, and he became a regular. It was Manford. You would have never known. It was an Irish kid. And then another time, I was sitting in there, and there was this gorgeous young girl sitting next to me, and she went to the jukebox, and she came back, and "Only You Know and I Know" came on, the original, not Dave Mason, but Bonnie Bramlett, and she goes, "That's my mom," and I'm like,
Wow.
"What?" And she goes, "Yeah, my name's Becca Bramlett." And I fucking hung out. So that was going on. These kids, you would never know. I mean, look
Well,
at
not trying to top you, but I totaled out Charles Lindbergh's granddaughter's car. I had a bunch of wheels from a motorcycle I was taking to get relaced, and I T-boned this. I went through a red light, and all those wheels went flying, and they
oh,
smashed her car to pieces,
oh,
man.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah, she
oh,
goes to the cop. She goes to the cop, and the cop's, writing me a ticket, and she goes, and she keeps asking him, and he goes, will you just wait? She goes, you don't understand. I'm Charles Lindbergh's granddaughter. He goes, I don't give a shit.
give a fuck who you are. I know. It's amazing. I was at my one of my couple last weeks at rehab, and this guy came in. He was dressed really nice, in a workout outfit, really slick, and older gentleman. And he was real cool, He started asking me questions, and we were just, like talking. He would never fucking know that. Now, where I go to physical therapy is up by a place called McDonald Ranch, and it's like one of the high end areas out in Henderson. And there's a lot, sometimes there's Bentleys parked, at the physical therapy. You don't know who's in them. No one acts like rich people. But this guy said something about it. He goes, "Oh, you're in the music business." He goes, I once flew a piano into Red Rocks with a helicopter for U2 to do their video. They did some
I'll
of
be
their
damned.
original videos in Vegas when they first started. And I go, "You flew it in? Were you a pilot?" and now I can't think of the name. There's a helicopter company here that does all the Grand Canyon shit, and all that. And he was the fucking owner of it. It said his logo.
What was he like ha- carrying it from a cable below the helicopter or something?
Yeah. They
Really?
flew it in to lie it, put it up in the Red Rocks. I have to look up the video.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
It's
and
crazy.
and then he said, I said, "Oh, yeah, are you a pilot?" And he goes, "I own this company." Fuck, I didn't, Oh, wow, that's great. Shook his hand. Fuck, But you never know some of these people.
Yeah, it's like I bought this motorcycle. It was about 15 years ago. I can't remember the guy's name, but he is the guy that came up with that jumbotron. The big
Oh yeah,
screens. Yeah, he's got warehouses all over the place,
yeah,
and he had all kind. He knows so many people, famous musicians and things. His whole wall was lined with them, but you'd have never known, just a good old boy kind of guy. But he was from California, and he
yeah.
moved down here. But man, he's just making a lot of money off of that stuff.
I need to
You
make
know,
a lot of money.
when that came out, that it was a game changer because people could actually see if you had nosebleed seats, and now they use them on all concerts. So
Right.
that was
Well,
like a
I'll have to, come back on this show again. I know we gotten off the beaten path because we can just talk, but I got so many. There's a lot of Skynyrd stories.
yeah,
Even
we'll get you back on. Yeah, and
in Japan, I heard you guys talking to Mike Estes the other day, and is Mike? What's Mike? Is he's still writing songs, right, with that band that he's got? I mean,
yeah, he's got that neck problem right now, so I think he's kind of, cut back a little bit, right, Craig?
Yeah,
So,
and Jay Johnson, I from what I understand, he just got his real estate license and he's starting to sell houses. So I don't know how that's affecting the band either.
I
But
should call Mike and we should write something together. He beat me to the Stone Roadie lick. I was coming up with some little thing for.
that's okay. We'll do
Hey,
another one.
yeah, well, I'll do one for you just to look.
Yeah, hell
We'll
yeah.
do some kind of acoustic thing, and I was in the shower and I was coming up with some lyrics. I go, fuck, I'm gonna write the whole thing and surprise you. And then fucking Mike went on and did this. I'm like, God damn it, I'm gonna have to
That's
top.
all right. That's all right.
You
We
know,
can't have enough of them, man. We need all we can get. Yeah.
I enjoyed Mike's stories, and then he was saying some things, and I go, oh, I could reiterate on that. Like when Ed, had the medical stuff, he didn't know about some of the stuff, and I go, fuck, I do, pick me. So it's cool.
Well,
And
we'll have to get you back on with maybe Paul or somebody like that, or Mike
yeah,
Sparks or.
well, I
Mike,
tried to get Mike Sparks on here, and next week. Well, we usually leave next week for comments about this show, and then we get a guest on the week after that. I tried to get Mike Sparks, and he's kind of busy, so we're gonna come up with somebody here after that.
Mikey, I wouldn't be able to go on with him because I don't know him. We didn't work together. I
Oh
know
yeah,
him.
okay.
We met.
Well, that's okay. I mean, a lot of times, that makes it even better, because you guys you can talk about stuff and then go, yeah, I remember that, and it's just
Yeah,
yeah,
Paul,
because
Paul, I was there with Paul, and
yeah, we need to try to get him back on again, Craig.
I just remember when Pops showed me how to do the Excel program, and like when I was real good with computers, and I was like the production manager or whatever, and production assistant or whatever I was, but I was in charge of doing the manifest to go to Europe, and so I had to do it on a computer and had to use the Excel program, and I didn't know how to do it, and Pops did, so I had to keep going and bugging him, going, "Hey, how do you make this column wider? How do you change this one
Yeah,
to
that's a lot to
a
that.
money, a value, and how do you change this?" Luckily, it's easy. You just go up here to column, but I
I
had
was
to
the manifest king for tours, and all the way until I quit touring. I was still the guy. I would come to production. I was like, "Oh, what the fuck is this? You just do an Excel spreadsheet. They don't. What the fuck? You were handwriting shit. What the
Yeah,
fuck?"
a bunch of Florida rednecks, man. They don't do any of that crap.
Well, I was talking about no, just like in 2015, you know, and 2014 and
That's
20.
what I mean.
Oh well, this was back in the before the 2000s even. You know,
I
I was
only, yeah, I had. I mean, that was 94 or something. I think I
no
got.
96. Windows came out in 95, so it had to have been on a Windows. So
Yeah,
you
because I
know,
had
so it had to
gotten
be
a
like
well,
we
I
were
had a
going to Europe. Well, that's why I was doing the manifest. We were going to Europe, so that's what it was.
And
Yeah.
how
had
did they print out those set lists? They use one of those.
Oh, those were the old ones that came from Sir Productions. Those were off of Xerox machines that they sent out. They printed them up there and sent them out. Yeah,
and you
on
got a bunch of
Xerox.
those still, right, Craig?
I have a
From
few of them. I don't have
yeah.
many. Yeah.
They're cool. You know what I need to get you guys? Now I'm probably gonna open my mouth and set myself up for something. I have well, you know, I was in charge of the Zappa warehouse at one point, and I was put in charge of a Zappa. It was an actual sale that happened, Joe's garage sale, and it was after Frank passed away, and it was all his old gear and just everything, you know. And I have boxes or a big box, anyways. Of they're called track sheets. In the old days, when you recorded on 24 tracks, you had a sheet that was called a track sheet, and it had 24 boxes, and you wrote what was on each track on it. And they say on it UMRK, Utility Muffin Research Kitchen. That was Frank's studio. And
Oh, that's
I
cool.
have a bunch of shit from the
Yeah,
Zappas.
and just like when Mike came on and he had that telly neck,
Yeah.
people love that kind of stuff.
A
So if you've
Stratneck.
got any,
A
yeah, the Strat.
Stratneck.
So if
Yeah.
you've got anything like that, just that was something
Show and tell.
historical, show and tell type
I
thing.
I have a couple things I ended up with because, you know, I used to he had a box called Zoot, and it was this big, huge box they made that went with him on the road, and it had like gazillions of guitar parts in it. And, you know, when I would be over there with Dweezil, I'd be going through all that shit. I ended up with some stuff after I left Dweezil. Not a whole lot, but some things. I got a neck, and I got to get a hold of Dweezil and tell him because I want him to have it. It's a neck plate off of one of Frank's guitars, and it says FZ001. Was
Wow.
That's cool,
I
man.
got that, and I want Dweezil to have that. And there was some rumor because Frank had a Hendrix guitar at one point that Hendrix gave him, and there's been a million stories about that. And I was there when Dweezil took it to Fender and had it redone, and then he put it back because he was going to sell it. They actually rang me and said, "Where's the neck to the Hendrix guitar, the original neck?" And I said, "It's up at the house underneath the stairs." So I don't know if that's where they found it, but apparently he got the original neck back on the guitar, and it was going at Sotheby's for like $1 million, right?
Damn.
And he had tried to put it back together the way Frank had it, not the way Hendrix had it, because it got burnt. He's on the cover of Guitar Player magazine. It's probably on my Facebook somewhere. And so, anyways, I ended up with a case, and I got it upstairs. It's a Strat case, and it's an old tweed, and it's beat up, and it's got G19 stenciled on it in black paint. It looks pretty shitty, and I ended up with it. And I started thinking, I wonder if this is the fucking original guitar case for the Hendrix Strat.
You think? You think it is?
I have it. I've kept it locked away.
If that thing, if
Fucking
that
locked away under
guitar worth $1 million, if you got the original case.
Well, in all fairness, I really can't sell it. I could, but in all fairness, it doesn't belong to me. I ended up with it. At the time, I'm sure we used
Well,
it.
that doesn't bother Craig any. He ends up with a lot of stuff he sells.
We we used to, you just grab cases. If you needed a case for a guitar, you just grab it out of the warehouse and fucking
Yeah.
take it. And that case meant nothing to me. I saw it in the locker, grabbed it. We need a Strat case, but fucking threw it and used it. And then, I would take shit home, or if we went out and did a session somewhere and I had to throw gear in go back to my house, and it ended up at my house somehow. There are things that nobody knew about that Gail gave me of Frank's when I was putting that sale together, she would come down and go, I want you to have this. I got his original pig nose. I got those JBL speakers. Mind you,
You got Frank's pig nose?
one of them. Yeah. It's right back there.
There, you got it right there. Can you bring it over? I mean, that's
Oh, I see it. I see it back there.
that's
I know what a pig
freaking
nose
crazy.
looks like.
Frank Zappa's pig nose.
Oh, look at that, man. Pig
Yeah.
nose.
He had a few.
You had it right behind you, man, and we didn't even know
Right
it.
here. Yeah, I've had it.
You know, I saw that back there when I was looking at that turntable, and I was thinking, I was like, what that was, but I was getting ready to ask Craig.
These were
When you went to let the cat out, I saw it.
ended up with some of these. Some that say HT on them. These were Gary's Chorus Eden bottles I used to
Oh
get.
yeah, yeah.
Is
look
that
at
no
Remember,
shit?
Craig used to throw these to me from across the state.
That was
Oh,
one
yeah,
of Gary's.
yeah.
Was that one of Gary's Chorus Eden?
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
And I have somebody gave me over the years. Let me see if I can.
Look at this.
Yeah, that
Pops.
was
He
probably the
don't-
thing.
Pops-
Gary would throw that to me on one side of the station, and I'd throw it to Pops all the way across
All the way
other
across
side of
state. Some of them we'd miss.
That was fun.
Now this one, this is a real Chorus Eden bottle from the 1800s that I have.
Oh yeah.
No
Somebody sent me
shit.
these. Look at that one. I don't even.
Wow.
It even says, I don't know what it says on it, but it's that's a real one. Somebody had these and went, hey,
God, those are 60 years old.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
one, that
it's
first
not-
one.
this one's from the 1800s.
Yeah, the first one that he had. Yeah, that's.
Oh, that's from the
crazy.
1800s?
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
a real,
wow.
That
Yeah.
was a real one.
Yeah,
These-
they haven't made Chlorcedon for 60 years, probably.
So this one,
Bombs like that.
these were the remakes of the Chorus Eden. There was a company out of Maryland or something, and I got an endorsement for Gary. I have all that information somewhere. I had it on my website. And I got rid of my website, so it's on Facebook somewhere. Some of the shit that I kept. I kept the original fucking green piece of THN wire that went in the Freebird guitar for the tuning. I kept that one that nearly got
Oh,
me.
yeah. 12 gauge. Yeah. It's 12 gauge wire. Yeah.
At 12 THHN. Right. I kept
Yeah.
that one in a thing with a letter that Gary gave us all at the end of my first fucking tour. That was
Oh, yeah. I have one of those too. Yeah.
a letter that says the crew's the best and all of that.
Is that a drum head in the back
Yeah,
there? A couple drum heads?
Yeah, well, the drum, one of them is from Ardent Studios, is in Memphis. It was the competition. What's the big Sun Records? Ardent was the competition of Sun Records. It was like on the next block or 2 blocks over. I did a session there with one of the original Swampers. Jim Dickinson was the keyboard player on Rolling Stones' Wild Horses. He's got a couple of kids. Yeah, he's got a couple of kids, Cody, and now I can't think of the other kid's name. Luther. Luther played in the Black Crowes, and they have their own band, North Mississippi All Stars, they're called. So that was at Ardent Sessions I did with John Hyatt, and Jim Dickinson produced it, and a bunch. David Hood played bass on it. David Hood was an original Swamper. Yeah.
Yeah.
So check. Here's a good story about David Hood. So we're in the studio, right? And Hyatt had a locker of just was incredible of fucking gear. So I would on sessions, he would say, "Bring this and this," and I would go to locker and I'd get a van and just pile shit in it and fucking drive him to the studio. And he would, "Why'd you bring on?" "Well, because I'm the guitar tech and I'm gonna be helping with the tones." And so I would pull shot. So he had this old Gibson EBO bass. You remember those old things? They were like boat anchors. They were.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Leslie's West bass player played one. They were looked like an SG. It was called an EBO.
Yeah. Yeah. Leon had one. Leon had one of those. Yeah.
So we go down and do the session, and I got all these racks of guitars out in the fucking thing, and David Hood walks in, and he's got 2 Olympics, and he's got the fucking preamps, and he looks at me and he goes, "Pops, I'm self-contained." And he was in an ISO booth. He goes, he just went in there and put his own strings on everything, right? And he goes, "Pops, you don't need to do nothing." And he's looking around, and he sees that EBO bass, and he looks at me and he goes, "What do you got in mind for that?" I said, "I don't know, maybe nothing. You got those Olympics. I'm sure you know what you're doing." He goes, "Please don't make me play that bass." And I go, well, we'll see what happens. I can't guarantee that. He goes, oh, please don't make me play it. We had these, those Olympics are like $5,000 or something. Maybe they're a lot more than that. I don't know. This was a while ago. John Hampton was engineering, and it was the first Sony brought in some of the first Pro Tools digital shit, and Hyatt didn't want to use it, and they said we'll send it down there for free because we had all the analog shit, the real stuff. And so, anyways, we're going along. I don't know, about a week into the session, 4 days, and playing a part, and they stop, and I'm in the control room, and Jim looks at me and he goes, I don't know, it's missing something. What do you think, Pops? I go, I know what it's missing. And he goes, yeah, I'll bet you do. And I said, this ain't going to be pretty. And he goes, why? I said, because David asked me not to make him play that bass. He goes, that's what it needs. It needs that EBO in this part, doesn't it?
Wow.
It sure does, right? So I'm looking out through the fucking control room, and David Hood's going, he's got the look. He knows it's coming. He knows it. He knows it because we're stopped and I'm talking to Jim, and it was a bass part. He knows it. And I open the door. I head out there. I don't go to him, right? I go get the bass and I start tuning it. And I go and I open the door and he's just like, it was like a poor puppy dog, man. Oh, Pop.
He knew. He knew somehow he was going to have to break it out.
He goes, I knew it. He goes, but let's do it and let's see how it sounds. And so he did it. He played it. It was like he was holding his nose while he was playing. It's hilarious. I fucking goes in. We play back and he goes, fucking Pops. He's fucking, God damn it. It's perfect. Perfect for the fucking part. He did it like that. I got some great photos of David, leaning over the fucking stick.
Where was it? Was that in Muscle Shoals?
No, we did it in Memphis at Ardent Studios. That's what that
Memphis.
drum head's from.
Oh, okay.
David Hood on it, and Jim Dickinson, he passed away. Jim's on there. And the other one is actually from fucking Lynyrd Skynyrd. And it's got Leon, Billy, Huey, Owen Hales on that.
Did you ever meet Artimus?
No.
No.
He wasn't allowed around when I was there. For whatever reason. I don't know. I watch a lot of his stuff on YouTube. I watch a lot of Artemis stuff. I listen to the stories.
And Barry and Bo Bice and Barry Lee, they're touring with him right now. Yeah, that's cool.
Hey, guy still plays guitar great. He looks great, I think. I think he looks really good.
Yeah.
Well spoken. I don't know. Craig was there. I don't know. I don't know him. I just, I was in the room with Gary a few times when he spouted out some shit, just only between, a few people that were in a room.
Yeah, well, that whole drums thing in Canada, that's the... Well, Craig, we ought to wrap it up. Craig's got another podcast.
I got to do a podcast in 45 minutes with Kathy Ghazi, but I just want to ask Pops, because I did this. Me and Boxcar, every place we played that had hockey games there. One of us would go get a hockey puck from that place. And I know you're a hockey fan. I just wondered if you did that because I've got quite a collection of hockey pucks.
No, I didn't do that. I went. I was a kid. Yeah. I played hockey as a kid, and then I had a hockey scholarship in high school to college. I got kicked out my senior year for no attendance in September of that year. I was supposed to play for Colorado College in 1977. And I got kicked out. I played with them junior year, but I would go to practice. I'd be tripping on acid and stuff. And I'd been doing music stuff. And so that was when I quit high school. And I came back to St. Louis, went to work for Contemporary. And I was a hockey fanatic in St. Louis. I was a St. Louis Blues guy.
Is that what happened to your knees?
Well,
didn't help, did it?
My knees, being a roadie for 45 years is what did my knees. I've done everything, my wrists, everything. But it might have helped. I mean, karate didn't hurt, good, yeah. I got kicked a lot in the fucking knees. That was a number one spot to kick somebody. But yeah. So anyways, I only took pictures of arenas. So I went off hockey until I moved to Vegas. You know, L.A. we had Gretzky, and I never made it to the games. I was doing blow with Nicholson in the fucking bathroom. So I missed. I think I watched one game, one period, and I went, "Fuck, let's go back to the bathroom."
I think Craig did some blow with Nicholson.
I mean, I wasn't his buddy. Like, he didn't come to the house or nothing. But
I can't remember if we did a bump. But I only met him that one time in Nebworth. We smoked a joint. I can't remember if we did a toot or not. I think we all did. I don't remember.
Dude, in the 80s in LA, everyone had a vial. You know, there was the vial on the chain with the little spoon, right? And one of
that was the thing, man.
Yeah, and then it became to just dump it out on the fucking hand, and then it was like, this is, people started to really do it.
The fingernail. I used to have the fingernail, the pinky nail, long one. Just
we'll come back on. We'll tell some of those stories. I'll tell you a story about going into Canada with Skinner once with me and Eddie Hobson.
Yeah, save it for the next time.
Yeah, you'll come back soon. Yeah, we'll look forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, we love to have you on. All right, we got to wrap this up. I got to do another one here in 40 minutes.
Thanks for coming, Pops.
And thanks for having me. And I'm sorry it took so long.
That's all right, man. We'll get you back. We'll catch you again in between surgeries.
Yeah, we'll make it. Maybe even soon, real soon. I'll just do another one. We'll get right to the stories.
Yeah, cool. All right, man. Well, all righty then. Until next time on the Stone Roadie Show, happy trails to you until we meet again, and see you later, alligator, at the Wild Crocodile. And we'll call that one a wrap, and we're out of here. Cut.